Welcome back to the second ever episode of Avillion and Brayden Talks. The first episode was over on Avillion Talks channel. So if you haven't seen it, this might be something new to you. We're doing a weekly podcast alternating between the two channels. So go ahead and subscribe to him, subscribe to me to catch every single episode of this. We're going to be talking mostly football, but just, whatever we want to talk about. So let's just get right into it. So Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, actually. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty good. I did have a little story I wanted to not a story, just something going on that I wanted to bring up during this personal check-in. So my sister is having her baby next month.
Oh, goodness.
And she said that right now her induction, because she's going to be induced most likely. I guess the baby could still pop out whenever, but she's most likely going to be induced. And she said the day right now that's penciled in is October 22nd. My birthday is October 23rd. So depending on what time she goes in on the 22nd and how long it takes, because she said it could take between 8 to 30 hours of like actual labor.
Yeah.
There's a very, very real chance I could be sharing my birthday with my nephew.
That's fucking awesome.
It is. And
Sorry,
there's
a cat on my nightstand.
And there's already kind of precedent for it in our family because that same sister shares her birthday with our uncle.
That's awesome.
And then that same uncle got married on my birthday.
Awesome.
It's a lot of date sharing.
There's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, with the same uncle too. It's not even just different stuff. It's the same guy.
Yeah.
But
speaking of October 22nd, that's actually the day my life is supposed to end, and there's a story behind that. So I had two people that don't know each other text me on the exact same day. One of them said, "All right, 10/22/23, you're finished, bud." The other one said, "Don't leave the crib on October 22nd." This was 3 hours apart. These messages were 3 hours apart from two people who have never spoken to each other in two different group chats. And they both said, "I'm done on October 22nd."
Wow.
So your nephew will be born, and I will be reincarnated as your
I was literally going to say, like, are you
me.
going to become my nephew?
I'm going to be your nephew. So
that's crazy.
That was actually my plan all along.
Wow.
So, yeah, fun. It's gonna be a fun chapter for both of us, I think.
Oh, it'll be fun for me
when we get there. Well, it'll be fun for me if I get reincarnated as your nephew.
Or if you just live, which would probably be ideal.
Yeah, well, maybe I just won't leave the crib on October 22nd.
Don't leave the crib.
I just won't leave the crib. Hang on, is that a work day? Shit, I might have to.
It's a Sunday.
Oh, I ain't leaving the crib.
I'm watching football all day.
I got plans.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. Because my birthday is that Monday, so. Yeah.
But yeah, I also just got texted by a Navy recruiter. I don't know if you saw. I sent you the screenshot, but he was like, "Yeah, let me know if you're interested." So I sent him the picture of Squidward that says, "Please recruit me into the military. I'm normal and can be trusted with weapons." He says, "Okay, stop by the recruiter's office in location tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll help you out."
He saw that and he was like, I know you're fucking around.
Military recruiters gotta be the sleaziest motherfuckers on this planet, dude. I'm sorry if we have any recruiters watching this, except I'm not sorry because I have no respect for you. But
okay.
Yeah. No, specifically recruiters. I'm not saying people in general. I'm just anyone who's ever.
I think they have monthly quotas.
Are the worst people. Oh, they definitely do.
So I think it depends on what time of month you run into them. If you come across their path in the first.
We're in the second half. He's getting a little desperate.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not on pace to reach the target.
Yep. But I mean, that's all I have to report. I've got no new updates since last week.
I know I had that,
and
it
just happened 10 minutes ago. So.
I feel like I had something else, but I guess I don't.
Oh, I guess I had my mom's birthday was on Saturday, which was great because I was grilling and drinking instead of watching the Tennessee Volunteers get the shit kicked out of them by the Florida Gators. So that was fun. I was drunk and making burgers. So
that's always
good
fun.
Night for me. It was a much better night for me than it would have been had I stayed home and watched the game. So plus I love my mom. So shout out my mom.
Shout out
Mom's birthday.
Yeah. Shout out to Mama Jacob.
Mom, yeah, that's her name, Mama Jacob. But yeah, that's all I have to report.
Yeah. So the Volunteers got kicked in, but the Titans did not. Do you want to talk about that right now?
I would love to.
The floor is all yours.
The Titans had a get back kind of week this week. A lot of things went wrong in week. Well, no, not necessarily a lot of things, but a lot of things went wrong for one guy.
Yeah, one player went wrong.
Quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Things did not go wrong for Ryan Tannehill this week.
PFF had him right now as I think he was him and Daniel Jones were tied for top-rated quarterbacks
for this week.
Two. Yeah, for this
week. In week 2, 92.5 grades for both of them. Ryan Tannehill had a perfect passer rating in the fourth quarter and overtime. He was lights out. He was 20 of 24 for, I think, 246 and a passing touchdown and also a rushing touchdown. And on that rushing touchdown, it was like a speed option from the 12-yard line, which I think if Todd Downing ever watched that play, he would blow a head gasket. I don't think he even knows what those words mean. But, yeah, that's Tim Kelly is already worlds better than Downing was as a coordinator. And we saw a lot more offensive balance this week with the running game. And we didn't get away from Derrick Henry. We didn't get away from Tyjae Spears. And Spears, I don't think I'd have to go back and watch the tape, but I'm fairly certain on every single carry, he did not go down on first contact. He broke at least one tackle on every single play. I'm pretty sure. He was just untackleable against the Chargers. He was fantastic. And Treylon Burks had a 70-yard pass. At one point, Tannehill threw it 62.2 yards in the air, which I was shitting on his arm strength last week. I guess it's back. I guess it never actually left.
Might fluctuate.
He's still slinging it. I think maybe he was just uncomfortable week 1, and that's why he was floating everything out there. I don't know, but he looked rattled. He didn't look like he, felt like he belonged in that moment. I don't know, but he looked just fine this week. Only missed on 4 throws. One of them was a drop by Trayvon Wesco, who should not be out there running routes. He is a blocking specialist. If you want a pass-catching tight end number 2, put Josh Wiley in the game. But I digress. Defense was awesome. They were missing some pieces. Christian Fulton was out with a hamstring injury. Shocker to absolutely no one. Christian Fulton out with a soft tissue injury. Amani Hooker had a concussion, which was brutal. He forced 2 turnovers the previous week. But Peter Skoronsky had an appendectomy, so he was out this week, and he's probably going to be out next week. But Dylan Radins actually played the majority of snaps at left guard. Xavier Newman-Johnson got the start, but he was struggling early. So Dylan Radins, in his first action back from the ACL tear last year, actually played really well, at least in the running game. Struggled in pass protection, but, again, first game back from an ACL, can't put too much stock into that. He's getting back into the swing of things. He's getting used to playing football again, and he was fantastic as a run blocker. So not the best game from the O-line. They allowed 5 sacks, but certainly not the worst performance we've ever seen. Tannehill was efficient. The receivers got open. Nick Folk is that dude. He has made all 7 of his field goal attempts so far this season and hit the overtime game winner against the Chargers. And the Titans have won a football game for the first time in over 300 days, and really that's the main takeaway, is we won a football game. So
over 300 days?
Yeah, we lost 7 straight to end the year last year. Remember?
No, I do not remember that.
I don't count the preseason games as win. This is the first meaningful win in over 300 days for the Tennessee Titans.
Damn.
So we're finally back on track after 8 straight losses, if you count the first loss this season. So we're back to where we need to be.
Titans are back.
Is what I wanted. Yeah,
Tighten up.
I think tighten the fuck up. I think Ryan Tannehill looked like how I expected him to look coming into the year, and I hope this is what we see.
The video's aging better now.
It is a little bit. It was aging pretty poorly after the Saints game, but if Tannehill plays like this, efficient, clean, decisive, accurate, that's all we really need. We don't need him to be a superstar. We just need him to be Ryan Tannehill. So,
yeah. Against what we thought was going to be a good team. We'll talk about them later.
We're going to talk about Brandon Staley later, but
I think I know exactly the perfect segment to talk about Brandon Staley.
I know too. I think there's really no wiggle room for anybody else.
Yeah, when I saw it, I said, "There's only one man." To talk about.
When I came up with it, I thought, there's not going to be any disagreement here, but that's okay because there's plenty to be said regardless.
Yeah, but yeah.
But you know what else there's plenty to be said about is the Dallas Cowboys. The floor is all yours if you'd like to discuss the win over the Jets.
So I won't say too much because shit hasn't changed really since last week. So if you saw last week's episode, it's more of the same. This defense is what I thought it could be when the season started, adding Stephon Gilmore and some of the development I thought we could have from some of the other guys. Oso Odigizua being the biggest one. Him on the interior is looking great. I mean, he's becoming a real pass rush presence. The run defense is looking good so far. Absolutely set the tone early on the run defense against the Jets. I thought that Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, that combo, would be the only way the Jets had a chance to stay in it. And very quickly, Dallas shut down their entire run game. The only thing that was a positive for the Jets offense was just one singular play from Garrett Wilson and a bad cut from, I can't remember, I think it was Bland. I don't remember exactly who made the safety was in that exact moment, or maybe it wasn't even a safety. I'm trying to remember what that play was, but just made a bad cut on Garrett Wilson. He went off for like 68 yards on one touchdown, but the defense, Micah Parsons got 2 sacks and then a forced fumble recovery that, I guess by the letter of the law, it shouldn't have been a touchdown, but he wasn't, while he was on the ground, his leg was touching an offensive lineman's leg who was facing the opposite direction of Micah Parsons because that guy didn't even realize Parsons had the ball. Parsons gets up, runs it in, but he's down on contact. But I guess what's different this week is we were able to actually see the Cowboys offense, and I think they were 2 of 6 in the red zone, which is should be a big concern. But at the same time, to me, the Jets are a top 3 defense. So I'm not overly worried about it. It's still a new offensive system, or at least I don't know how much big the changes were from Kellen Moore to Mike McCarthy, but I was expecting some rust there on the offensive side. But 30 points against this Jets defense is, I'll take it. I mean, I'll take that.
How? Yeah. 30 points against any defense, especially the Jets defense.
Because I'm trying to think. Let me pull up the game. I'm trying to see how many actual touchdowns. I know. Okay, yeah, Dak threw 2 touchdowns against this defense, which is great. CeeDee Lamb is truly playing like a number 1 receiver and like a top 7 receiver in the NFL right now. 11 catches, 143 yards. Didn't get a touchdown, but that's fine. So Dak threw 2 touchdowns against this defense, which I'll take. Our kicker has been, the first game he misses his first kick, an extra point. After that, he's been perfect, including, I think, 5 field goals this game? Yeah, 5 field goals, including a 55-yarder, actually. So he's been great, which is, if the Cowboys want to do what they're going to do, or if they're going to do what they want to do, you have to have a kicker to rely on just because these games can get so close when you play other elite competition. Having him knock down all these kicks is a great sign to see. But yeah, Dak looked good. Not perfect. 2 of 6 in the red zone is still a huge concern, but that's pretty much all I have to say. Offense looked good. Defense is still elite. Special teams is clicking. I mean, I hate, I don't want to say this is our year because anything could happen in one playoff game, but holy shit, this is the best I've probably felt about a Cowboys team 2 weeks in my life. Yep. They look great. They genuinely
look fantastic.
And I understand that, hey, they played the Jets without Aaron Rodgers, but they still looked good against that elite defense. And I get it that they played the Giants. Tale of 2 halves for the Giants this week, but I'm starting to feel better about my Giants playoff pick. I still feel like it's probably unlikely at this point, but that was a team in the playoffs last year that on paper improved. So I don't think they necessarily played complete dog shit competition, but they haven't played anyone elite, and that's when things will matter. So still yet to see that, but I feel great about them going forward. Did you get to catch any of that game?
Oh, yeah. Not really. There were just some more evenly matched games on at the time.
Yeah.
I think I had Commanders Broncos on one monitor, and then I was switching between Cardinals Giants, and I think I watched some of Rams 49ers,
which was closer than I thought.
I was just gonna say, you mentioned Cowboys and kickers earlier. Brett Maher won me some money over the weekend because the spread that I bet on, I know some people got Rams +7. I got Rams +8, and they were down by 10, and they walked down the field, kicked a walk-off field goal to make it a 7-point game. So the Rams covered the spread, thanks to the mighty leg of Mr. Brett Maher. So
yeah, I was never too down on Brett Maher. I know he had the one awful kicking against the Bucks in the playoffs, which is a game we still won. But I was never too down on him. The thing with Brett is, like, if it's a super close field goal, he'll barely get it in. If it's a mid-range field goal, he's going to kick. But if it's long distance, nobody's better than Brett at long distance kicks. It is so funny how, like, a 35-yarder, he's shaking his knees. 60-yarders, he's booting it in. It is hilarious.
What do you call it? Missouri's kicker. I think his name is Harrison Mevis or Brandon Mevis. I don't. But he's the thicker kicker is his nickname because he looks like Randy Bullock out there. But he hit a 61-yard game winner, but missed like 2 gimmies of a field goal earlier in the game.
Oh wow!
So I think he missed like one in the low 40s and one in the high 30s. But yeah, Brett Maher's game or spread winner, I guess, was a 38-yarder. So I was shivering the timbers watching Brett Maher kick under 40 yards because I thought for sure like this is gonna be wide left or some bullshit because that's what Brett Maher is. But no, he hit it.
For Brett, when it's like. I think when it's long distance ones and for like game winners, it's for his mind is like, it's not really my fault if we don't win this game or if I don't get this kick. If it's a long kick, he's like, who's expecting me to kick it? He's out of his own head and he hits it. Or if it's a game winner, he's like, fuck it. And he's out of his head and he kicks it. But when it's in that middle range, he's like, I should kick this, but can I kick it? And I feel like he's in his head and that's how he misses. That's what's my guess. But do you?
Nick Folk doesn't miss any field goals. Or extra points for that matter.
If I had to guess, he's probably the number 1 fantasy kicker right now.
He might be because he hit 5 field goals in week 1, and I don't know if game winners give you extra points for like fantasy points or if it's just distance based. But
here, I'm gonna go to.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go to sleeper right now.
He's definitely high up. He might not be number 1.
Have you seen the? I don't know who's all in the league, but I know Big Cat is in this league where it's like if you make a kick or if you make a 50-yard kick, whatever, the points are like it's like 30 points.
I have not seen that, no, but you should be taking kickers number 1 overall.
I had the exact same thought. I was like, Daniel Carlson and Justin Tucker are who you're arguing for picks 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But let me see. Let me look at kickers real quick. Here we go. This is the podcast you want if you want to hear about kickers' fantasy stats. Nick Folk, number 1 kicker, yeah.
Is he really? Good shit.
Nick Folk and then Jake Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott also hit like a
They're right next to each other. Or they might be tied technically. Hold on. That's 20. Oh, I think they're technically tied for points.
Oh, okay.
But Brandon Aubrey
still kicker 1 technically. Even if he's tied, he's still kicker
1. Yeah, he's still kicker 1.
So
kicker's it's just such a weird position in fantasy.
Such a weird position in general. You've got guys that will be like the best kicker in the league one year and will be cut the next offseason just because they have a bad season. And I get it because you as a kicker, you can't afford to have a bad year because you're so important to the team. Like you're gonna lead the team
and the headspace.
Yeah, and, it's hard for like kickers when they miss 1 kick. It's like a lot of them will start missing 2, 3. Like
they get the yips.
Just that one.
But
Justin Tucker, remember, didn't miss a PAT for like the first 10 years of his career. He's missed 4 in the last like 3 years. Once
and then
he missed that first PAT, he started missing a couple more.
Daniel Carlson was the last, like these last 2 years, was the number 1 kicker in fantasy. Right now, he's kicker number 28.
Yep. Carlson's another guy. He got cut after like his first career game with the Vikings, and then went on to not miss another field goal the entire rest of his rookie year when the Raiders signed him.
But yeah, anyways. Do you want to go through these 2-0 teams?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I got this. I got the standings pulled up. Yeah, I got the standings pulled up. I'll list them off. I'll just work my way down here. So right now, are these 2-0 teams Super Bowl contenders? First, we have the Miami Dolphins.
Not even a question.
Of course.
Absolutely. This is Vic Fangio coaching the defense, and you're insane if you don't think he knows what he's doing.
He's one of the best.
And Mike McDaniel is a wizard on the offensive side of the ball. Tua looks really good. Raheem Mostert has had a touchdown in every game so far. He had 2, I think, against New England. Really ran all over New England.
Yeah,
Raheem
it was
Mostert.
crazy. Yards per carry, I could find, but it was insane.
He had a couple of long runs, I think, but I mean, even then, before that, he was like really bruising that defense, which is you don't expect that of Raheem Mostert. He doesn't seem like
6.7 yards per carry.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, Dolphins 100%.
Waddle had a good game too. I think he had 80 some odd yards in that one. Hill had a touchdown, but
yeah,
Tua's good.
Tua's good.
They get Jalen Ramsey back at some point late in the year, which is
great
huge for later in the season. He's still one of the best corners in the league.
When I made my prediction for the Dolphins, I did not factor in Vic Fangio because I was like I knew the offense would be good. I didn't know about the defense, and it's
why I had them ahead of the Jets. I was looking at the Jets' offensive coaching staff, and then I was looking at the Dolphins' defensive coaching staff, and I'm thinking, when Tua was healthy last year, they really didn't lose.
Yeah.
And then now they've got Vic Fangio coaching the defense, so I'm like, this team's got to be really fucking good.
And then there's only one other AFC team that's 2-0 right now, the Baltimore Ravens. Are they Super Bowl contenders?
Yes, I think so. I think this is by far and away the best group of weapons Lamar Jackson has ever had to work with. Of course, losing J.K. Dobbins once again sucks, but Gus Edwards has proven time and time again he is a more than capable running back. And I think Todd Monken is getting into a rhythm. I think as the season goes on, the offense is going to continue to acclimate, and defensively, they're missing some pieces in the secondary, but it didn't really matter much against Cincinnati. They still played really well.
But it'll matter in the playoffs moving forward.
It'll matter long term, but I don't think it takes them out of Super Bowl contention. I think they're more well coached than some other teams.
To me, this team is right on the line, and I'm gonna put them on the side of being contenders just because I believe in Lamar Jackson.
Yes,
and he's a superstar. So if he was just a slightly worse quarterback, I would have him right out. But he's great at what he does. So I'm gonna put them in there. But it's so close. I think if I were to list Super Bowl contenders, I'd probably have them near the bottom, but I would still have them within the list.
Yeah, they're not I think the best
favorites
team in the AFC. They're not even. I wouldn't even say they're the second best team in this conference, even though they're 2-0. But I think they're Super Bowl contenders for sure. I mean, it's a long season. We'll see, but
we'll see.
I think they'll be in the thick of things come playoff time.
So now let's move on to the NFC side, and we're gonna start off. We're gonna be listing a lot of East teams because
the NFC East has more 2-0 teams than the entire AFC,
and they're the only division that doesn't have an 0-2 team.
Yep, and also the NFC South has more 2-0 teams than the entire AFC.
Yeah, but the NFC East is the best division of football as of right now.
Bar none, absolutely.
And let's start off with the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like I made it pretty clear how I felt during my talk. They're contenders.
Beyond a doubt at this point.
They
might even be better than San Francisco. I don't know that I'm ready to say they are better than San Francisco.
They play pretty soon. They play in a couple weeks, we'll 5 or 6.
Find out,
but no team has.
They're definitively the best 2 teams in the conference.
As of right now, no team has scored more points. Not just offensively, just overall as a team has scored more points than Dallas Cowboys, and no team has given up fewer points than Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, 70 points for and 10 points allowed.
They're averaging 35 a game and averaging giving up 5 points.
You'll take both of those every single
And obviously that'll start to decrease as they play better offenses, but I mean, I think we're looking at the best defense in football. But
I don't think that's asinine to say.
No.
I think there's a very strong case.
Easily within that conversation. But let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Are they Super Bowl contenders right now?
Right this very second, if the playoffs were today, I don't think they'd be there. But I think as the season goes on, they've got new coordinators, they've got new pieces.
I feel the same way.
Some time, but I do ultimately think this is Dallas's division at this point. I think through 2 weeks they are the better team, and we don't necessarily know what Philly's going to look like even when they do gel. So, but yes, Super Bowl contenders. If the playoffs started today, no. But will they be when the playoffs actually start? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say no, just because but it's so weird because I haven't liked the way that they looked, but they're 2-0, which is very concerning to me.
48 points allowed is not
the
prettiest, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, it's better than the Giants.
Yeah. Well, when you place it right next to the Cowboys, it looks like shit because they've allowed 38 more points.
But now, let's move on to an easier pick of whether they're contenders or not. The 2-0.
That's not very nice.
The 2-0 Washington Commanders. Ron Rivera is their head coach. I'm saying
contenders. No. I agree with you. They're not contenders. However, they are playoff contenders.
Oh yeah, they're definitely playoff contenders.
I think they just might make it. So far,
I might have to. If I just swap out the Giants pick for the Commanders pick, I would feel better about my playoff picks. But Commanders, Sam Howell has looked promising, 2-0, but as Micah Parsons said, we're coming.
Brian Robinson is also a dog. I don't know if you got to watch any of that game. I'm sure you were watching Dallas for the most part. But
I mean, I saw some of his runs.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
And the announcers didn't mention that he had been shot until the fourth quarter, which I'm pretty sure is a record.
There's no way they didn't mention it before.
Not until the fourth quarter. Not until the fourth quarter. Which,
wow.
Has to be a record because
Jesus.
They mention it usually as early as possible every week, but no, not until the fourth quarter did they mention that he had been shot. But,
let's move on.
Sam Howell is that guy, though.
Yeah. So let's move on to the 49ers. This should be a quick one. Yes. Offense looks great. Top 3 defense in the NFL, in my opinion. Yep. We can probably just move on. Everybody knows about the Niners.
Has looked just a little bit shaky, and that would be the only real concern with this team is that he probably has a ceiling as a quarterback, but Kyle Shanahan is really good at letting that not mean anything.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo took them to a Super Bowl. I'm sure Brock Purdy can too.
Let's move on to the most surprising division in the NFL right now. I know. Well, I bet we see them come down to earth, but the NFC South, starting with the Atlanta Falcons, contenders.
No, but they are everything I thought they would be. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I was pounding the table for this team during the division predictions. I was very confident they would win it, and through 2 weeks, I am very confident they would win it. I put money on them to beat Green Bay. They won me some money. Fourth quarter comeback as well. So it's interesting. This is a team whose identity is running the ball in defense, but they've already proven they can play from behind. So if that adds an extra element to what this team could be, not Super Bowl contenders, but they could wreck somebody's season in the wild card round.
I guess I'd have to see the match. I'm trying to imagine who they could play.
Well, let's say
they would be the 4
seed, and they play Philly in round 1. I'm not saying they would, but I'm saying that I wouldn't be shocked.
Since I hate the Eagles, a part of me will always believe that they'll lose, so I won't be shocked. But if I took away that bias, I would be shocked.
We still don't know what Philly's going to look like come playoff time as well. You know, they're going to be better than they are now. I'm fairly certain. But granted, that doesn't mean Atlanta can't get better. Desmond Ritter's still coming along.
He could get better, but as of right now, my guess is he holds them back from winning this division.
Interesting. The real question is, will Kyle Pitts ever get a target?
Oh my gosh. I'll never forget when Gabe took confused. This wasn't this year, but Gabe took Kyle Pitts over Mark Andrews in fantasy.
And what result did that yield? Do you remember? Not a very good one.
I don't remember. I don't think he made playoffs. And usually your tight end selection is not what makes or breaks your fantasy season, but
if you're drafting one that high and he doesn't play,
I guess
and he doesn't get any points when he is playing.
But yeah, so now we move on to the Saints, Super Bowl contender.
Fraudulent 2-0 team should be 1-1. No bias. No, not Super Bowl contenders, but they're good. I mean, I said from the beginning they had a real shot at this division. They were definitely number 2.
We both agree that it's between the Falcons and Saints. We're just on the different sides of it. I still believe the Saints win this division. That defense looks good. They're going to get Alvin Kamara. That's a huge weapon that they're going to get back on the offensive side because their run game hasn't actually been that good. I know Jamal Williams has not actually been doing too hot. And I'm trying to remember if he if he finished the game against the Panthers.
Granted, week 1 doesn't count because nobody's allowed to run the ball against the Titans defense. So.
That's
really week 2 is the only week we can really judge the running game on fairly because the Chargers ran for like 250 yards against the Dolphins, and I don't even know if they eclipsed 60 in 5 quarters against the Titans. So,
but now let's take a look at a team that has a roster that not too long ago, because there's still a lot of carryover, won a Super Bowl. Are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, these crazy 2-0, are they Super Bowl contenders?
There's a pretty clear disparity between this team and the team that won a Super Bowl, and that's this team doesn't have a Tom Brady. Now, Baker Mayfield has not been bad by any stretch of the imagination.
I want to talk about him later.
Okay, I think I know where you're going with that, so we can save the Mayfield.
We'll save some Baker talk later.
I still don't believe this team is making the playoffs, but it would shock me if they did. But they've had a good start, in all fairness.
They're playing really well. I think going into the season, I expected this division to be a 2-man race, and if a third team were to emerge, I would have expected the Panthers. But honestly, the Bucs are making some real, it's really a 3-man race between this division now, and the Bucs have put themselves in that conversation. Still picking the Saints, and I still like the Falcons more, but the Bucs have shown that there is not this huge gap like most people thought.
No, they have certainly made it closer than either of us predicted.
Yeah, I was super down on them. I thought they were the second worst team to the Cardinals, and they're not that.
No, really. I mean, there was always talent here, but I don't know. My issue was always coaching staff and quarterback with this team, not necessarily roster talent. But who knows? Maybe I was wrong about both of those things.
Yeah,
we shall see. It's a long season, but
we'll see.
That's always possible.
Now, on the flip side of this, do you want to go through all the 0-2 teams and see if?
Of course.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say whether or not these teams are in contention for the number 1 overall pick, starting with the New England Patriots. My opinion is that this team has played, actually, I think they've actually played pretty well, compared to their record.
Right.
I think they're a better team than the 0-2 looks like. They played really close games against some pretty good teams. So I don't think there's any chance they get the number 1 overall pick.
I'm with you. This team still looks well coached. The offense certainly looks like much better than the dumpster fire that it was last year. And they still won like 7 games last year with Matt Patricia calling plays. And Bill O'Brien has certainly stabilized that position. And they've just lost to 2 really good teams. They lost by 5 points to the Eagles and then, 7 points to the Dolphins. 1-score losses against 2 teams that are going to be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And
you don't beat yourself up over that.
It's a tough start to your season. Probably the best team in that whole conference right now. And then the other went to the Super Bowl last year. Those are losses you can
stomach those pretty easily. I think if you're Bill Belichick, I don't think he's worried.
Especially with how close that Patriots-Dolphins game ended up being with that 4th down call.
Right.
I still think they lose even if they get it, but it's close.
Strange, though.
Yeah. But now let's move on
man have one.
To a team that we are going to talk about later, so we won't go too much into. But the Los Angeles Chargers, are they in contention for the number 1 overall pick?
No, and even if they were, it wouldn't be Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
I think
they would.
Pretty apparent.
Hypothetically, if they did, it would trade back.
I'm not even sure it would be Marvin Harrison. They probably would trade back because they just drafted Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
They still have Mike Williams. I mean, I don't know where.
Keenan Allen's been great so far.
Yeah, even at his age, he's still.
Yeah, you would trade back. You could get a haul, and then you have with what you're paying your quarterback, you need to hit on draft picks. So picking up more draft picks to potentially hit on.
I think that's.
But anyways, this is all hypothetical. Justin Herbert is too good to let this team. It would take a Herbert injury, which. It's probably that never happens.
Heaven forbid that.
Yeah, we'll talk about this team more in depth later. So let's just move on to the Denver Broncos, 0-2, number 1 pick contention.
It's actually not possible because they don't have their first round pick this year.
Yeah,
even if
it would go to.
I don't believe so. I think they look. I mean, they certainly look more well coached than they did last year. By the way, their point differential is only -3.
That's true. They've been close losses.
Mary does dress it up a little bit, But
you got it. You got the play. It doesn't. I don't think it dresses
yeah,
anything up.
A play is a play.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so
insane play.
The point differential is only -3, and it could even be -1, and they could be 1-1 if not for a missed. Okay, we don't know how overtime would have gone, but there was definitely a missed DPI on that 2-point conversion. So who knows? But
yeah.
No, they even if they had their first round pick, I don't think they'd be in contention for number 1. And in general, they're not in contention for worst team in the league. I think Russell Wilson looks better. Marvin Mims is a stud. He had a nice day. Well, 2 catches for like 113 or 114 yards, something like that.
You know what? I don't think they'll get it, but I do think they're in contention for it. I just could imagine that these 2 losses, Russell Wilson's contract, I could just see locker room stuff continuing to worsen.
That's fair.
Because Sean Payton can come in and be Sean Payton, but if you start 0-2, people might stop believing. Like if you're in the locker room, I could imagine them start to disbelieve. Ultimately I don't think they are, but I could see them continue to get into that conversation. Right. But let's go ahead and move on to another team that we will talk about plenty later.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals.
No, though, because the roster is too good, but it is worth noting that Burrow re-aggravated his injury.
Yep.
And I don't know what this team's going to be.
And I don't
at
know.
Least for the rest of the early part of the season, because it's not like they've got an easy road ahead on the schedule. And
what do you do
if they haven't looked great to begin with, even with Joe Burrow? He hasn't looked great.
Yeah, I think he rushed his way back.
I think so too, because the original timetable was that he was going to miss multiple weeks into the season, and possibly even the first 4 games. And he was back week 1.
And the thing is, I saw there was this drive near the end of the Ravens game that made it a 1-possession game where I saw like Joe Burrow that we know come back. Right. And if he didn't re-aggravate it, I would say, guys, bet the over on all of his stats next week because he's starting to play better, but he re-aggravated
definitely
it.
bet them to cover every week for the next month. But
it's re-aggravated. We'll see.
That ankle injuries. We'll see if he plays through it, but even if he does, I don't feel great about this team right now. But
yeah.
I don't think there's a realm in which they
can we play a game real quick? Pick. If they did get the number 1 pick, because T. Higgins hasn't been extended, do you let him walk and you draft Marvin Harrison?
Marvin Harrison Jr., no question.
And you have just an absolute disgusting duo of Jamar Chase and Marvin Harrison.
Is the best wide receiver talent since Jamar Chase, and honestly might even be a better prospect than Chase. I think
probably. I thought he was the best prospect in years. Chase,
yes.
and Marvin Harrison is probably a better prospect.
I think he is.
Yeah.
I personally believe he is.
So,
that's not to say he'll be a better pro, but based purely on what we saw from them in college, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a better prospect than Chase was. And if you get the 2 best wide receiver prospects of the last 2 decades, well, since Calvin Johnson, I'll say, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah.
So, you let T. Higgins walk, you let him sign with the Tennessee Titans, and then and then you draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
But yeah, we'll talk about some stuff later. Next. Now, the Texans also don't have their first round pick. This would go to the Cardinals, but is that pick in contention for being the number 1 overall pick?
I think not necessarily, but I think bottom 5 is a very real possibility. And I just think they're still missing a lot of pieces. There's definitely progress on this rebuild. This team has life that they haven't had, but we are nowhere near the end of the road in terms of the Texans being back.
If they had their number 1 pick, I would if they had their first round pick, I should say.
Yep.
I would love what they're doing then, because I do think there's signs of life and improvement, but they're still losing. So it would be the nice combination of things to build on, and we're getting a super high draft pick. But
imagine if you could reunite Stroud with Marvin Harrison Jr. if you get that
draft
pick.
But instead,
that would be awesome.
I know everybody has seen this, because the current draft standings or whatever.
Right.
It's the Cardinals having the top 2 picks.
The top 2.
And them getting Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. Yeah. Actually, we can jump right into that right now because the Cardinals would be next.
We can talk about
the Cardinals is their own pick in contention for being number 1?
Absolutely.
100%.
You don't think they lost this game on purpose? Maybe. Who knows? No, I don't believe that. But but this is really the ideal kind of loss you want if you know you're going to have a bad season.
Mm-hmm.
Be competitive,
but lose
out in the end, and that's every tanking team's dream. You don't want to lose by 40 every week, but if you lose by 3,
but no, I would agree just based on the ending total score. But the comeback makes it a gut punch to everyone in the locker room.
For sure. I think that the fact that you let them back into that game in the second half is brutal.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you look at the point differential, they're 0-2, and their point differential is -7.
Yeah.
That's,
but I just...
on paper, at least, the ideal.
The question for the Cardinals is, to me, the question isn't do you draft Caleb Williams? You do. But it's what do you do with Kyler? Who wants him?
I just don't know who the takers would be.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll find out at the end of this year who
who
the takers would be. But
do you
scrolling through the?
Do you
probably be an AFC team? You imagine. By default, they'd probably want to trade him out of conference. But
do they respect him that much?
Well, I think it's more.
Because if I were them, it's like, hey, the highest bidder's an NFC team. That's where he's going.
So well, fair enough. But I mean, if we're looking at.
If all packages were equal, I guess send him to the AFC, but...
I don't know if the Browns are ready to move off of Deshaun Watson. Do they want Kyler Murray?
I don't know what that would look like.
Maybe want Kyler Murray. Pittsburgh, if they're ready to give up on Kenny Pickett, if he continues to
they probably should.
Well, I'm not necessarily against that, but I think that offensive line has not done that team any favors.
No, but
neither has Matt
still.
Canada. But yeah, fair enough.
The whole NFC East seems good on quarterback, even though I don't love Daniel Jones. He's probably Daniel Jones either gets too much love or hate from people. It's weird, but
nobody can have like a lukewarm opinion on Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I'm like he's fine, and then
he's either Vanilla Vic or he's a bottom 3 quarterback in the league. There's no.
I'm trying to think, because we'll get to
the contract situation. He just signed the contract. You can't dump him off.
Whatever out year you have, it's not within this near future.
Not next year, yeah.
All right, but yeah, that's the Cardinals talk. Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins is on pace for like 6,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, 9 picks. Justin Jefferson's on pace for like 2,500 yards. But they have no wins.
You're damn right. They have no wins, but.
They're
better than the Bears, which means they're not a number 1 pick contention.
I agree. It's just, they'll be in a weird spot of like, at this point, probably missing the playoff. There's still so much football left, anything could change. But as I look at these teams right now, probably missing the playoffs. But like, what do you do? I guess
feel like I've said no with too many teams for this question, but that's also because there's some 1-1 teams that I feel like have better chances than some of these 0-2 teams.
But yeah, that's fair. But I guess what do the Vikings do? Do they just focus on drafting defense and signing defense, and then just bringing back this same team?
I think you need...
Because you got Brian Flores, who I do think he's already improved the defense, but you still need more.
It's a low bar because it was abysmal last
year.
But you're right. I think right now they're suffering from a talent deficiency, especially the secondary really doesn't have much.
Yeah, if your guys are getting pushed around by Baker Mayfield on a run, and it's telling you to get your weight up, you probably don't have... You got problems in that position. I don't care what position it is. Unless the only position Baker can push down, and I don't know how they'd be on the field at the same time, but the only position Baker can push down and say that to are kickers.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're on this field at the same time, but...
The Vikings definitely... they should do what the Titans did this last draft, where they only drafted offense. The Vikings should do that defensively.
Oh, yeah. The Cowboys had a draft like that not too long ago, and it worked.
The 2024 class, unless there's some like crazy departure.
Yeah, if there's certain...
It should just be pure defense.
Yeah. Because you have Justin Jefferson as a wide receiver 1, best in the league. Jordan Addison looks great so far.
He's a long term. He's got to be... I mean, he can flex inside of the slot. He can probably play as a number 2.
You have Hawkinson.
You feel good about your weapons offensively.
The only thing is, like, Alexander Madison...
You maybe draft another running back in like the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah.
Because, running backs are on trees nowadays. You can find a serviceable one.
The only thing is,
beyond that.
I don't know about the Vikings O-line.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, maybe. When it comes to a team that is only a few pieces away from being back in contention, I prefer to sign offensive linemen in free agency because you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Like if there's of course that always depends on who becomes available, but
yeah.
I think you just need to make sure you're the highest bidder on the best available offensive lineman because when you draft O-line, sometimes it takes them a couple of years to acclimate. Sometimes they just flat out suck. That's with any position, but offensive line in particular, you see a lot of year 2 jumps for offensive linemen. You don't see a lot of offensive linemen look great in their rookie year. It's very rare.
Yeah, but I think what I would say for the Vikings is my guess would be you have a good offense, do something to ensure that you still do. My guess, I would say draft an offensive lineman in the 1st round, and then the entirety rest of your draft, don't even take a running back, the entirety rest of your draft be defense.
Yeah, they could always sign a running back in the offseason, too.
Yeah, they could sign Ronald Jones right now.
Yeah, I don't know that he would really do anything for that.
But yeah, let's move on to the Bears. They're in contention, and if they get it, Justin Fields is getting traded to Denver.
This coaching staff stinks.
That as well. That's another thing. I do feel bad for Justin Fields in that regard. The pick, I'm pretty sure you've seen the pick 6 that happened because they play the screen. So the defense is you're doing the same. It's not even just lining up in the same formation. It's you're doing not only you lining up, you're doing the same thing out of that formation. It's ridiculous.
And I think it was Shaq Barrett who said, we knew what they were going to do because the formation, it was either him or Levante David, was the formation was exactly the same.
Levante David said it, and Shaq Barrett's the one who got it,
But also, I feel bad because Luke Getsy is terrible, but also Fields had, open receivers in the end zone at some points in this game and just started running around and then he got sacked. He scrambled into a sack when he had an open receiver in the end zone.
It's funny because I was scrolling on my phone before we got on this call, and I was seeing just on Instagram just the plays that were being run by the Bears offense, and it was just terrible. There's definitely a huge offensive coordinator problem there, so it is somewhat difficult to judge Fields, but there is enough evidence of him not making throws he needs to.
It's not the easiest eval in the world right now, but at the same time, he doesn't look like he's really progressed in terms of reading the field much from college. I remember the playoff game against Clemson in Justin Fields last year at Ohio State. He threw a touchdown pass, and it was not the best decision in the world because the tight end was covered. And then just a little bit to the right, he had, I think, Jeremy Ruckert wide open. Just didn't see him. So made a throw with a much higher degree of difficulty, but it wasn't a tight window or anything. It was in the NFL that was an interception.
Yeah,
and he scored a touchdown, so everybody was celebrating. And I'm that's a bad throw.
If
that's gonna catch up to him.
If I'm the Bears, I'm letting the draft essentially decide what I do. If I have the number 1 pick, I'm taking Caleb Williams. If I have a top whatever pick, and I'm looking at Drake Mays, they're available. I don't think Sanders comes out this year. I bet he comes out next year.
I think he stays for his senior year.
And
play with his dad.
I don't know who else is available, and I don't watch college football, so I couldn't even comment on it. But if I look at them and I say I would take a reset of evaluation of a quarterback in the NFL, I would take Caleb Williams, Drake May. There's probably 1 or 2 more quarterbacks coming out this year that I would say, hey, draft them and trade Fields. Just he might be able to still work, but he's not working here. Let him go somewhere else.
I'm not even sure you would take May over Penix right now. Michael Penix could very well be QB2 by the time this year, and he is playing out of his mind right now.
But let's move on to the final team here, the team that didn't earn but had the number 1 pick last year in the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to say, honestly, it's so tough, but I'm looking at the NFC. There's worse teams. I don't know their schedule. They do play the NFC South, and even though I think they're the worst team in the division, do they lose all these games in the division? No.
Well,
but
they're already 0-2 in divisional play, though, which is what really sucks about evaluating this team is that
I'm going to say contention
out in the division to have a winning record.
For number 1 overall pick contention, I'm going to say yes. I think they're in contention for it.
Contention, yes. I don't think they
wouldn't
get it.
Pick
I
them,
still do believe they perform better in the second half of the year than they will will end up in the first half. That,
yeah.
I figured they'd have some rough patch. I didn't think it'd be as rough as it was.
And they lose Thompson. They lose
Thompson. Yeah,
yeah.
he's got to be out for a while. I don't know.
I saw a year.
Season ending, but
I saw season ending.
I just saw like significant time or whatever. But maybe it is season ending.
I was scrolling on Instagram before
Shaq Thompson
this.
for quite a while at the very least, which is tough.
And his only weapon right now is what, Thielen? Hurst?
He's got Hayden Hurst as well. I mean, he
running off to Sanders. I just don't like the offensive weapons around him.
Sooner rather than later, Mingo needs to come along because they could really use just a dominant wide receiver right now.
They're probably praying for the number 2 pick.
So they can get Marvin Harrison. I would love Marvin Harrison with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
That's a dream come true right there. And I'm sure it is for Bryce Young as well.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I think, well, granted, they don't have their pick regardless. So there is no Marvin Harrison Jr. in this team's future.
Did they trade? Oh, yeah, they did trade this. So
pick,
this would. So
the Bears have both of those picks.
Whoa.
For the Bears, everybody's talking about the Cardinals getting the 1 and 2. What about the Bears?
The Bears have that possibility. That possibility is definitely on there, and you would.
I think it's less likely, but I think it's.
It would be amazing. I kind of want this to happen now, where one team has the 1 and 2 pick just naturally, and just see what they do with it.
The problem is Chicago would need to clean house with the coaching staff. Now keep the GM, I think, because especially the fleece that they pulled off with Carolina.
That was still a great trade. Like, that is a great process.
Yeah, and I think and I was just gonna say, in terms of trades, fans love to look at the result, but like everybody likes to ignore the process and how we all reacted to it. When everybody and their mother said that this was an absolute fleece by the Bears.
If you're continually doing the right process. If you're continually doing the right process, you will get good results. Yeah, you do one good process and it ends poorly. Some people just like to write the entire thing off, but if you continually do the right process, you'll eventually get good results. So
eventually, you're going to get it's statistically very improbable for you to look at it the right way and still end up with poor results every time. So I think, even regardless of how Bryce Young turns out, I think it's a good trade if you're Chicago because you got DJ Moore out of it. You got a first round pick this year. You
got a weapon and a lineman to help you evaluate your own quarterback.
Yeah. You got a lot to work with here.
Although they probably still should have just taken Jalen Carter.
They 100% should have just taken Jalen.
I would like him to not be in the division.
Obviously, but they should have just taken, because Jalen Carter is already looking like the next Jeffrey Simmons.
But yeah.
It's brutal.
Do you want to move on to the next topic we have here?
Absolutely.
This one is a fun one. Ranking the 2020 draft quarterbacks. And I'm going to list the 5 for everyone. And this class is crazy. It's Joe Burrow. It's Tua. It's Justin Herbert. Jordan Love, who's now becoming a part of this conversation, and Jalen Hurts. Do you want to let's work our way from 5 to 1. And I think 2 games, 1-1. I think it still has to be Jordan Love.
It's way too early to say Love is better than, because all 4 of the quarterbacks above him are all, at the very least, very good quarterbacks. Yeah. So it's very hard to say.
I'm looking at Jordan Love, and I think he could move up this list.
I think he could too, because I've got a hot take about one of these guys.
I don't know who it is. We'll talk about it.
We'll see at number 4.
Yeah.
I'll let you do number 4 first.
And I don't really have much else to add about Jordan Love. Do you?
Okay, fair enough. No, I think he looks good so far.
It's just we'll see.
He's played 2 games as the guy. Obviously, he's played more than just 2 games, but as
the Chiefs,
the guy for sure. He's played 2 games, so we need to see more. But
and his number 1 weapon has been out these 2 games.
Yeah, and even then, how much of a number 1 is Christian Watson?
I think he adds a really important dimension to the whole group.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, like, in general, is he a number 1 wide receiver? Not right now. He could be. He's got the skill set to be one. But
I would agree with that. So number 4. I'm looking at him.
Yep.
And I gotta go with Hurts.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get it.
So for me, it's, first of all, the Hurts season, it was one really good season, and I mean really good season, but it's just that season. And to start this year off right now, he's not looking like he did last year. Do you got the same? Do you have Hurts at 4, or who do you have?
Well, I was going to put somebody else at 4, but I think I need to come back down to earth for a second.
You're about to really dog somebody out.
I'm still going to at number 3. Not that I don't overall feel positively about him. It's not necessarily.
I love all 5. I love these 5.
Well, they're all good.
This
Again,
This is the best quarterback class in a while.
Yes.
By a lot.
This is better than 2018. Because there's less busts.
Who was 2018?
Was Baker and Darnold and Lamar Allen.
Yeah, that one has that one has 2 hits. One that's getting a resurgent on his what? I'm trying to think. Fourth team now, yeah. So even if it's like, oh, he's good. Yeah, he's good on his 4th team. Yeah. And then 2 busts.
One is also on his 3rd or 4th team.
Yeah. One's out the
Darnold.
League.
Yep.
I don't think Rosen's is anywhere.
I'm still not giving up on Darnold.
If Purdy,
yeah,
you better be on top of your shit, because I do think that if Darnold came in there, we would realize, oh, it's definitely the system. Darnold looks great. This is what a
really talented quarterback looks like in this offense.
Yeah. But yeah, I have.
Like I said, this is better than 2018 because I think both Lamar and I was gonna say both Lamar and Allen are better than anybody from this class, but that's not true. Number 1's better than both of them. Well, he has been. He hasn't been this year, but in general, he's better.
Yeah. Well, let's not.
Yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
So
number 4, I will say Jalen Hurts. I'd not by much though, and I think he has a lot of traits that are above who I have at number 3. Not necessarily physical intangibles, but much more mental intangibles.
Yeah, I love Jalen Hurts.
The work ethic is probably number 1 in the league at the quarterback position. And I say this as somebody who was a certified Jalen Hurts hater coming out of college. And even for his first 2 seasons in the league, this guy works his ass off.
I don't feel comfortable saying that just because I don't see what work these guys do. And the thing with Jalen Hurts is he had that room to improve that maybe some other guys didn't.
Fair enough, but at the same time,
he still made the improvement. Yeah.
It's not just in the NFL. In college too, he made improvements every single year.
Fair.
We saw it in Oklahoma. I think Lincoln Riley certainly deserves credit for that. But we saw it in Oklahoma. He was better than any year he had at Bama.
Yeah.
And then came into the league and really did not look like a starter. But then in his second year, he looked like a below-average starter, I would personally say. But he looked better for sure. He looked like he at least belonged. And then in year 3, he exploded. He got a lot better. And yeah, sure, we don't know what these guys do, but we can see the results. And you don't get, improvement every single year without putting in hard work.
Yeah.
And
no, I definitely get all that.
That's now again, and I said throughout the entire year last year, he has the easiest job in the league. He's got 5 seconds of protection every play. He's got a top 5 wide receiver in AJ Brown. He's got the best wide receiver 2 in the league. Maybe Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins and Devontae Smith, all 3 are in that conversation.
Yeah, that's
a top 3 wide
1.
receiver 2 and nonetheless a wide receiver 2 who would be a wide receiver 1 on at least half the teams in the league. So, and then he's got Dallas Goedert, and the running game is elite because again the offensive line just opens up holes.
Yeah.
So Hurts doesn't have to do much outside of just throw the open receiver.
So right now,
and let AJ Brown and Devontae Smith make plays, but he's still good. He's not fucking it up.
So right now we both have Love at 5, Hurts at 4.
Yes.
Number 3. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
I hate to do this.
I don't.
Because I think some people are going to think I'm overreacting to 2 weeks, but I'm not overreacting to 2 weeks. I'm putting Justin Herbert at 3.
You're goddamn right you are.
And I guess we should probably... I mean, I guess the rest of this list is now obvious.
Yes.
But I have 2 at 2. Because for starters, yes, based off these 2 weeks, Tua might be the MVP. We could talk about that at a different time. But he's been playing lights out. He's 2-0. Herbert is 0-2. And you could say the same thing about number 1. But the difference between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert's bad starts of the year is I've seen Joe Burrow in the AFC Championship game twice. I've seen Herbert go to the playoffs, get a huge lead, and lose that game.
Yes.
So and when Tua's healthy, that Dolphins team is unbelievable. So I think
he's the difference maker.
So these 2 weeks, and we've seen that. It's not even just we could say you could throw anybody in there, and you could probably throw in a lot of quarterbacks in there, but you can't throw out anybody because we've seen that Tua elevates that team when he's out there. So for me, it goes Jordan Love at 5, Hurts at 4, Herbert at 3, Tua at 2, and I'm still sticking with Joe Burrow at 1. I know he's been injured to start this year off, and I know that's a huge concern about him. This is not the first time this has happened, but they started 0-2 last year. He was able to pull through from that, make the championship game. I've seen him in these high leverage, high stress playoff situations and come through. I haven't seen that yet for these other guys, so he's solidified at 1 until I see these guys do it in the playoffs. He could, for me, the rest of this year, he could sit, he could not play well the rest of this year until I see these guys do it in the playoffs. I'm not putting any of them above Burrow until then.
Right. Yeah, Herbert's also my number 3, in case I didn't make it obvious.
I had a feeling, and I was like, we're on the same page.
This is probably the softest quarterback in the league. If I had to now, and again, like I don't hate Justin Herbert, but nobody in the NFL gets more excuses than this guy. It's not like he has nothing to work. Like the way people talk about Justin Herbert, these people are delusional, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. Okay, he has Keenan Allen, he has Mike Williams for at least 6 games every year. All right, fair enough. He's not always out there, but again, he has Austin Eckler, who's
one of the best running backs,
the second best receiving back in the league behind Christian McCaffrey.
Agreed.
And even sometimes has been a more impactful receiver than McCaffrey, just based on pure workload. He's gotten so many catches.
Fair.
And he had over 100 catches a couple of years ago, or like 90 something. But he had like I think he had like 113 or some shit. Yeah. He had a shit ton of catches, more than almost any wide receiver.
The question is, does Herbert have that dog in him?
No.
I don't think so. I haven't seen the dog.
That's really what boils down to it. Like, yeah, he has probably the second or third strongest arm in the league. Mm-hmm. He's got he's got good quickness for his size when he runs.
Yeah,
he can and even he can make plays in the pocket.
He has
can break pressure,
all of the physical tools.
But in terms of, have I seen him like? There's a reason his fourth quarter patented move is an interception and not a game-winning drive.
Yep.
Like this, he's just. I don't even know how to quantify it always with Herbert, but it's just I've never watched him and then been majorly impressed afterwards, and I can't tell you exactly why that is.
There's plays you can be impressed, but whole games, no.
There was a play against the Titans where Jeffrey Simmons was trying to get a sack, but ends up hitting him in the head, and Herbert's falling over, but he manages to stay on his feet, and he threw a touchdown to Keenan Allen, who was being interfered with on the play. Now, granted, that's probably just a better catch by Keenan Allen than it is a throw by Herbert, but the play was still impressive by Herbert nonetheless, and I was impressed on that play by Herbert, but did Herbert do anything else in the game where I was like, oh, wow, he had plenty of overthrows in that game, and in general throughout his career, I've never sat down and watched Justin Herbert and throughout an entire game been like, that guy is a superstar. Yeah. I don't think he is. I think he's a star, and I think he's the most needlessly protected star in the league, and I think he's being put on this pedestal that he hasn't even remotely earned.
Yeah. I mean, the way people talk about Phillip Rivers, it's only a matter of time before people finally start talking about Herbert like that. It's something about those Charger quarterbacks.
Something about being owned by Dean Spanos, I think. Terrible choices as an organization. I think that plays a part. And obviously, coaching has not been great in Herbert's career, and I'm not saying there aren't reasons. There's a reason.
I think he had a window of grace because of those reasons, but people have extended his window way longer than they would other people's.
Yes.
If he didn't have the physical. If you took away just one of his physical tools, whether it be his size, the ability to run when he does run, or his arm strength, or whatever, or his hair, if you took away any of those things, if you took away just one, people would dog on him way more. But he has all of the physical traits, so he gets this extended window. But there's just a dog missing.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between him and someone like Josh Allen, because you see Josh Allen play like shit 4 times a year. You just know you're going to get that from him. But every other game of the season, you are going to come away impressed because Josh Allen's best game is better than anyone else's best game. And Herbert has that talent in him to do that.
Yeah, I've seen the dog come out of Allen.
Herbert could do what Allen does, but he's just not built like Josh Allen is.
And no offense, I've seen the dog come out of Allen. I have also seen the cat come out of Allen.
Yeah, we see it.
But
we see it.
there's the dog. The dog is in there,
But
and I haven't seen it from Herbert.
more often than not, what we see from Josh Allen, and again, I have my own criticisms of Allen, and again, this isn't
Everyone
about
does.
Josh Allen, obviously, because we're talking about 2020 here, and I've spent too long on Herbert already, so I'm just gonna end on this. But again, the separation between them is, even though you're guaranteed 4+ bad games a year from probably 4 or 5 every year from Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Every other game, you are going to walk away impressed. I have never felt that way about Justin Herbert after any performance. Yeah. And I think, that's.
And even though he lost, that game, the playoff game against the Chiefs, Allen's end of game performance was incredible.
He had 5 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
What do you want him to do?
I've seen that from him. Herbert.
That is a game-winning drive that didn't lead to a win, and only because Patrick Mahomes was on the other team.
Yeah, and the coin flip that we all, But that, and it's just, there is something to your only playoff game, because you're a part of it. We could talk about the defense.
24-point lead or 21-point lead, or
I thought it was like 30.
No, it was like 20. I don't think it was that bad. It was 24-point lead.
Something crazy, but you have that crazy lead. I get that the defense plays a part in blowing it, but at the same time, you as an offense stop doing anything.
Yeah, but everything's Joe Lombardi's fault. But when Justin Herbert plays well, Joe Lombardi never got any of the credit.
It's 27.
The same thing people do with it was 27-point lead. It's the same thing people do with offense. That's why people say offensive coordinator is always the first scapegoat. That is literally just Justin Herbert's career.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive coordinator. Every time something went wrong, it was Joe Lombardi's fault. Every time something went right, it's because Justin Herbert was doing it all. Now, I'm not going to go to bat for Joe Lombardi because he was not a good coordinator, but at some point you have to hold Herbert accountable, and I think that's what separates him from Tua for me, because Tua is that dog. I do walk away impressed with Tua. I walk away impressed with how insane of a red zone quarterback he is. I walk away with being impressed by his accuracy, the efficiency at every level of the field, the deep ball, how beautiful it is.
And when talking about dog, the number one quarterback in this class, probably has the most dog in him out of any quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. In terms of football IQ, probably number 1 in the league right now. And I know that's overplayed, but I firmly believe it. I think Joe Burrow.
It's at the position it matters.
Yes.
If you're talking about a D tackle having the highest, it doesn't fucking matter. But at quarterback, that matters.
T.R. Tart, highest football IQ in the league, but
yeah, and his name's
plays anyways.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow, I think, accurate, of course. Normally a good decision maker. He's another one where you don't necessarily get as many bad games a year from him as you get from Allen. But you do get them.
But apparently for him, it's always, we know when they're going to be with Joe Burrow. Apparently, they're in the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when people argue back and forth about Joe, because they're like the consensus 2 and 3 quarterbacks. But Joe Burrow, people who think Burrow's number 2 and people who think Allen's number 2 will argue all the time. Whenever one has a bad game, it's like, oh, he just had 2 or 3 interceptions. It's like, damn well your quarterback's going to do the same thing, like probably next week. Like, I'm not saying there isn't an argument to be had, but stop making it about when one has a bad game, because they both have bad games. Every quarterback who's ever played has bad games. But the people love to overreact early in the season, and Burrow's had 2 bad games while injured, and they're gonna sit here and tell you that Burrow stinks. He doesn't. Burrow's awesome. You are lying to yourself if you believe otherwise.
Yeah.
And he is the definitive number 1, though I do believe. I'm not saying Tua's gonna catch him, but I think Tua is definitely the definitive number 2.
Right now, it's looking like Tua's gonna have a better chance to make this a conversation than Herbert.
Yep.
Especially because, hey, Dolphins, I can say right now, assuming Tua stays healthy, assuming all these guys stay healthy, the Dolphins will be in the playoffs. Right now, I would assume the Chargers aren't. Maybe that'll change, and they're a team that if you were to pick a team out of the playoffs now that would go in, I would probably say the Chargers.
Well, but who are they going to make it over?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Who are they going to make it over? Because Kansas City's winning that division. I think it's safe to say they're a shoe-in, even regardless of any kind of struggles they just beat Jacksonville pretty handily. Not to say handily. I mean, it was a tough game for the most part, but everybody knows how good Jacksonville is. And they lost to Detroit week 1. And Detroit's a good football team. Miami's probably winning their division. I would say almost certainly at this point. Not that Buffalo wasn't great in week 2; they bounced back. But
well, here let's just pick the wild card teams. So the wild card teams right now would be like what the Bills,
Buffalo,
the Raiders, the Bills. Like who they are right now. I mean, as of right now, like the teams that are in there, it would be like the Bills, Raiders, Steelers, Browns, Colts, Titans, and then Chargers. That's what 8, 7 teams. You have to pick 3. To go in. I don't
see at this point. I would give Indy a better shot than the Chargers because, like, as long as Richardson isn't out long term,
he might miss 1 week. I doubt he misses 2.
I think Indy's going to be better than I thought they were.
Yeah, I would probably still pick. I would still pick the Chargers over them.
Faster than I initially thought they would. I don't know that in general, I'm not picking the Chargers to make the playoffs. I think they were my 7th.
I would say
I'm fairly certain they're not going in.
As of right now, I would say Bills. I would say which AFC North team? Because it's
Cincinnati, as long as Burrow is for too long, it's got to be. But I mean, Pittsburgh as well. It's not Cleveland. I don't think Kevin Stefanski's going to.
Nick Chubb got hurt. Their best offensive player got hurt. Is out for the season.
I like Jerome Ford, but I don't.
He's not.
I don't know that Stefanski's going to finish the year. To be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable saying Stefanski is going to finish the season as the Cleveland.
It's weird looking at this at it now. I don't feel as good about the AFC as I did at the beginning of the season.
Hell no. We've seen a lot of ugly football in this conference.
Yeah.
Sure. I think some of these teams will round out. Like, I think, again, but trying to put my bias aside, I think the Titans that we saw in week 2 are going to be more or less what we should expect from them.
Let's do a playoff
review at some point.
Re-guess, re-project, re-prediction.
Maybe
I was thinking we do like a quarter check-in.
Okay, quarter, week 4, week 8, okay, that sounds good.
Each quarter, the podcast will be like award picks and playoff predictions. Yeah, and then obviously we'll talk about our own teams. Sounds good. But yeah, so do you want to move on to most impactful rookies?
Most impactful rookie.
So the most you want me to go first? I'll go. I guess I'll go first. So the most impactful rookie, when you talk about impact, you have to talk about quarterbacks. So it probably is Anthony Richardson right now. Excluding quarterbacks, it's Bijan Robinson.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought you were gonna take mine.
No,
I was gonna say those said Richardson. Don't take mine, but no, you didn't.
So these are mine. So Anthony Richardson, the quarterback, obviously is gonna play the most part. They're using his skill set properly in Indianapolis. He went to an absolute great team. Steichen being the perfect guy for him. He's been playing great. I made the switch for him to be my fantasy QB, and then he got hurt. I think he still gave me more points.
I have to play Kenny Pickett next week.
Yeah, but yeah, and then Bijan Robinson is what people kind of expected him to be. He's an absolute monster. I don't really have too much interesting things to say because those guys are great. But yeah, so who did you have?
I'm going with Zay Flowers, who I was hyping up last week, and he was great once again in week 2. And I think he has given Lamar what Lamar has always wanted. Zay Flowers is what they wanted Marquise Brown to be for Lamar Jackson. This is a deep threat who is more than just a speed guy running go routes. Like, Zay Flowers is legit. Zay Flowers is already, I think, the best wide receiver on this team. Even more so than Odell. I think Zay Flowers is going to finish the year as a better producer than Odell, and I think 100%. Defenses will target him more.
Odell got hurt too, I think.
Right, and so I think even healthy though, I believe defenses will pay more attention to Flowers. I believe Flowers gives Lamar his best wide receiver. Obviously, Mark Andrews is the best receiving option on this team until further notice. Top 3 tight end in the NFL. Probably the second best receiving tight end at this point because Kittle's really been turned into an offensive lineman as of the last couple of years. But Zay Flowers for me in terms of impact, the Ravens are 2-0, and Zay is cooking these first.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to hold back the Ravens is the question we have every year with them is how hurt is this team going to be? They're probably second in injuries to like the Titans over these past couple of years. You'd imagine.
Both teams, and really last year it was very impactful positions for both teams. I mean, I don't want to do like injury Olympics here. In some order, it was Tennessee and Baltimore over the last 2 seasons, and this year so far, Tennessee, knock on wood, has mostly avoided the injury bug.
It's 2 weeks.
Baltimore has not. Baltimore has.
But that's the other concerning
the
thing.
Secondary was decimated as soon as the season started.
That's the scary thing though, because it's not like we're 7 weeks in. We're 2 weeks in, and we're having this conversation with the Ravens.
I mean, Nick Chubb's knee just got incinerated.
God, that was tough.
Aaron Rodgers lasted 4 plays. You know what I mean? Like, and it does.
Monday Night Football curse.
Anything we say today.
Did you see the graphic?
They were all road teams too, which was not included.
It was like
one of those was a road team.
This week it was this Monday Night Football. It was Chubb. Last week it was Rodgers, but the last one before that Monday Night Football was Damar Hamlin. Yeah. So it's just a curse.
It was a road team in all 3 of those games.
Yeah, cursed game. But yeah. Anything else you want to?
Was it road or was it home? That was in Heinz Field or Acrisure. Oh yeah, it was Acrisure Stadium. So yeah, it's been home. It's been road teams every time that I've had those injuries. But
well,
I mean,
no, because the Jets were at home.
Shit, never mind then. All right, fuck me.
Okay. Did you want to add anything else about impactful rookies?
I don't remember who. I think that was in Pittsburgh last night. But no, I don't know that I have anybody else.
Yeah, I mean you're on the money with Zay Flowers.
Paris Johnson is playing well for Arizona, but in terms of impact, they're 0-2.
And I think the highest rated from PFF, the highest rated rookie right now is Christian Gonzalez.
Yep. And then also Jalen. Well, and he looked awesome. But I was going to say Jalen Carter too. Another honorable mention. Jalen.
Oh yeah, of course. But I guess when talking about impact, he's at a position.
Yeah. Line as it is.
So
whereas I think Zay Flowers, for me at least, has really, and even with Bijan, like if it was really just the Tyler Algier show, they might still be 2-0. I mean, maybe
I don't think so.
To Green Bay, but they would have won week 1 still. But
I forgot. I already forgot who they played week 1.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Carolina.
Yeah, they would have, but
I'm not going to tell you they're not, like, Bijan's not making an impact because he is, but I feel like Zay Flowers, for me personally, is number 1.
Yeah, I think if I were to rank him right now, I'd probably go Anthony Richardson 1 because he's a quarterback, and then probably Zay Flowers, and then Bijan. But yeah, do you want to move on to Bandwagon Watch?
The wagons. Yes,
so
sir,
we've talked about them plenty. I'm going to go ahead and let's start with the bandwagons we're jumping on. And we've both talked about this enough already, but I'm obviously jumping on the Dolphins bandwagon.
Hell yeah.
So let me look around and see if there's another one.
I want to say, did I have them making the playoffs? I think I did because I don't know why I would have kept them out.
I think I had them missing, and that is going to be, as of right now, it's definitely like the worst of all the picks so far. But them, I don't hate the Raiders like I thought I would at the beginning of the season.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Jimmy G. We all know what Jimmy G is, but I do think that he's good enough at times. So
it's a strong word, but
that's why I added the enough at times afterwards.
Yeah.
But
good enough at times, though.
Yeah.
A quarterback on a not great roster.
Titans are definitely looking better than I thought they would be.
Yep.
Do they miss the playoffs?
I don't. With how much ugly football there's
the AFC, I would have expected. My prediction was them definitely missing. Yeah. Well, not definitely. I think they were like just barely out.
They were probably your 8th team.
I think they were 8 and 9.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and then the Jets lose Aaron Rodgers.
11 and 6 or something like that.
That's crazy.
He showed us his prediction. I was like, if we are the 8th seed at 11 and 6.
Yeah, right. He was the 8th seed there, which isn't crazy to think 11 and 6 would have been the 8th seed going into the year in the AFC.
These teams all play each other. Like somebody's got to lose somewhere. The Chargers are already 0-2.
Well, part of the
both AFC teams.
I think part of it was also that the NFC is looking better than we thought.
Fair enough.
So like the idea would be like they beat up on each other, but when they go over to the NFC, they win, and that's just not going to be what happens. Yeah. So. Yeah. Let me look at the NFC side. If there's Commanders are definitely better than I thought. Rams is definitely the one.
Yep.
They're better. I thought they were just going to be in the bottom tier, but sorry, Sean McVay. I forget that you're really good at your job.
I made it a point. I stressed it when we talked about the.
Talked
about that division.
But we both brought it up. But we stressed it as why they're over the Cardinals by a good margin.
Yep.
But now it's like, oh. Right, they're probably still.
I'm not surprised at all by what they're doing right now.
No, it's like fucking duh.
It, but
that's how it feels to me.
I don't think anybody should be surprised, but you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, Sean McVay is kind of good at his job.
Yeah,
like that's. Fun fact.
I mean, I think for bandwagons that I'm fully jumping on, I think it's probably just the Dolphins that I'm jumping on. Because all these other ones that are like better than I thought, I'm not. Because like I said, the Raiders are probably better than I thought they'd be, but I'm not jumping on the Raiders bandwagon.
That's not a playoff team.
No, and then
they got the shit kicked in against the Bills. It was like 38-10 or something.
But it's just because I just think they're going to be better than I thought. And then the Bucks. I mean, that's another example of like, oh, you're definitely better than I thought you'd be, but I'm not jumping on your bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm with you with Tampa.
So yeah, for me, it's just the Dolphins. Are you jumping on anyone else's bandwagon that you weren't on before?
What wagon are you jumping off before we get to me? What wagon are you jumping?
Oh, I thought we'd start positive.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, we can do that too. So I'm like, I mean, I was.
You want to jump on this Cowboy bandwagon?
For sure. I mean, I was never anti-Cowboy. I said they were the third best team in the conference coming in. Now they're definitely top two.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess honorable mention Cowboys wagon. I'm jumping on the Miami wagon fully. I dipped my toes in it a little bit during the division predictions. I think I definitely mentioned.
Yeah.
I want to say
neither of us were down on them, but
no, but I definitely dipped my toes in. I'm jumping in fully. The water's warm. I'm jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Baltimore, another team that I had making the playoffs, but they're even better than I thought they were.
The injuries will stop me from jumping on them. Injuries will stop me.
Totally fair, and they could finish like 10-7 or some shit because of injuries, and it wouldn't shock me. Commanders, again, I'm jumping in both feet. They're going to be a wild card team. I firmly believe. I think Sam Howell's only going to get better as season. I think Eric Bieniemy, I did not factor in enough how much he would mean to this offense, only because I didn't know how good he was because he didn't call plays in Kansas City, but he's looking really good so far, and it's only week 2, so Brad Robinson looks really good. Obviously, the wide receiver core, nobody's got any questions about Terry McLaurin, and Jahan Dotson. He's gotten off to a slow start, I think, but I think Dotson's going to be a very good wide receiver too for this team. And Sam Howell has made some real NFL throws in these games too. He had a touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin in this game that was like fit perfectly between 2 defenders. Like that is he's got some dog in him.
I'm in a league. So. Somebody dropped Terry McLaurin like after week 1. I immediately said, "Give me that guy right now."
Ridiculous. But the Rams, I am 10 toes down on the Rams now. I think this is a wild card team. I think they're. Well, they are better than Seattle. They beat Seattle. I think they might even beat them again. I think I'm on with the Rams. I am in on the Packers, not necessarily to win the division, but this is, as of right now, the wild card teams, Commanders, Rams, Packers. I think, honestly, the NFC South, somebody rounds out, and those teams start losing some games as they get into more tougher parts of their schedule.
And they stop playing each other, and they all stop beating up on the Panthers.
They all stop kicking the shit out of the Panthers. And then as they play some real teams, I think they will start to round out a little bit. But I think at this point I'm going to say Commanders, Rams, Green Bay are all making it.
I don't hate that.
I had none of those 3 teams making it in the preseason. At this point, I like all of them.
That there's no way that can't be your 3 because one of them is going to end up being either the Eagles or Cowboys.
Oh, wait a minute.
Because there's 3 wildcard teams.
The AFC will be so bad that you're right. I totally forgot because I kind of glossed over those 2, and I'm like, oh, they're both shooting.
Because they're both in your head. So they're not wild card quality teams. They're division winning quality teams.
Do we have to include an NFC South team? I mean,
I think
Atlanta just beat Green Bay.
I think the Saints will be better than.
But
I don't know.
Again, Atlanta, I'm staying on the Atlanta wagon. Atlanta so far is everything I thought they would be, and I feel really good about this team. And again, just because Green Bay lost by 1 point, so I don't feel any worse about Green Bay as a team. So I'm fully on both of these. So we'll see how it shakes up. Of course, there's a long season to go, but I like a lot of these NFC teams that I was not super high on.
Yeah, no, 100%. Definitely agree with that.
Green Bay is looking really good. Atlanta is what I wanted them to be. The Commanders are 2-0, which granted they've played Arizona and Denver, so we'll see what they do when they get into some tougher opponents. But ultimately, they're going to be competitive every week, and they're going to be fun to watch.
All right.
Which is not something you could say about this Commanders offense the last several years.
Do you want to start doing the jump offs?
Yes, sir.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, we'll go.
Okay, so I'm definitely the Vikings were like a team that was teeter-tottering for playoffs for me, and I had them going in. I'm ready to jump off that one for sure with the Vikings.
Yep.
And then, obviously, the obvious one is the Jets. Aaron Rodgers' injury changes everything.
It's
Obviously, everyone jumped off on Monday night. Even after the win, people were still like, oh, well, their season's still done, but cool, you beat the Bills because Josh Allen imploded.
Yes. It's one of 4 yearly games where he just kind of does that.
I think I have to jump off the Chargers. Brandon Staley, we'll get into it.
Yep.
We'll get into it, but I'm jumping off the Chargers for sure. I'm going to go one more week before I speak on my secondary team, my second favorite team in the NFL. I won't even say it right now because I'm still hurting. But I think, so Chargers I'm jumping off. Jets, the train blew up. The train blew up. I had to get off of it. And then the Vikings. Those are the 3 teams I'm completely probably jumping off of.
Gotcha. I was never necessarily on the Chargers wagon. I kind of threw them in as the 7 seed.
Out of respect.
In hindsight, because I thought at the very least, obviously Kellen Moore has flaws, but I thought at the very least he'd be better than Joe Lombardi. But it looked like Joe Lombardi's offense against the Tennessee Titans. It did not look like Kellen Moore. It looked like how the Chargers looked with Joe Lombardi.
Well, Kellen Moore was overrated.
Well, for sure, but I mean, I wasn't really familiar with his game. I didn't know he was this ass.
It's because he would have some really good drawn up plays, and people were like, "Look at that creativity." I'm like, "Okay, but please watch the rest of this game."
Well, and I think the issue with Moore, I don't know that he's a great game planner as much as he is a great play designer. Because in terms of I would love him as an offensive coordinator if he didn't call plays. If there was an
Andy Reid,
head coach who called plays. If he was, if Kellen Moore was in Kansas City, I think it'd be great. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
He's not much of a game planner, I don't think, personally. But like I said, I was never necessarily super in on this team. I'm out. For sure, I'm out. Brandon Staley is not finishing the season. I don't necessarily know who gets promoted in that sense.
Well, like I said, we'll talk about that later.
But yeah, Chargers, I'm out.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I don't necessarily want to say I'm completely off the wagon. There's a solid chance this team makes the playoffs, but Kenny Pickett has not.
Let me extend my hand out to you. Please hop off. I will catch you. Come here.
Okay.
Look at my camera. Come to daddy.
I see you.
Matt Canada. That's all I got to say, dude.
See, that's what I was going to say is I really did not account enough. I had too much faith in Mike Tomlin to make the right decision. I said, okay, Tomlin knows more about football than I do, and he chose to keep Canada. And look, again, I've been very critical of Matt Canada, but I thought, okay, Pittsburgh finished strong last year. They had an efficient offense. Maybe that carries over. It has not. It has been rough offensively. I think their defense outscored their offense last night, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least
they did. I mean, they did for a while. I don't know if they ended the game like that, but yeah, because the defense had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, so, they only scored 26 points.
So if we include, because they both kicked extra kicks, so.
Well, even without the PATs,
14.
The defense outscored the offense.
Yeah, they did.
So, Matt Canada sucks. That's not breaking news. But another one, I hate to say it, I'm not necessarily off them as far as playoffs go, but I had the Bengals winning the Super Bowl. That's just not going to happen this year, I don't think, unless things change rapidly.
I wouldn't rule it out because it just takes if they get in, they can.
But like I said, it's going to be tough to start the year the way they're starting, and then Burrow's hurt, and
it's just about if he gets healthy. Healthy enough.
That's the biggest thing, but I'm not like I said, I'm not off them as far as being a playoff team goes. I still believe they make it in, but
see, that's interesting then because
I don't think they're making the Super Bowl.
In your playoff prediction, they're on the road the whole time anyway, so it's not like a difference of them having home field advantage.
I mean, I guess that's fair, but I don't know that. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see.
I'm not sure. I'm as high.
Monday night will determine everything.
If they start 0-3, I wouldn't be terrified.
I already have I have an opening bit to the podcast already planned if they start 0-3. I have a bit planned that we start the podcast off with if they go 0-3. I was going to do it today, but I was having I remembered the bit way too late before we had to start the call, so I couldn't get it ready.
I'm gonna say both Bears and Vikings. I actually switched before, like I think during the predictions I had Chicago as my 7th seed. I changed that to Minnesota
because we both were really close on having.
Yeah, and I did ultimately decide Minnesota was better, but I'm just gonna say I'm out on them both.
Yeah,
because everything in Chicago right now kind of stinks, and then with Minnesota, it's just. There's just you don't have the horses on defense for Brian Flores to really work with. Like that's what's with offensive coordinators. I feel it's a lot easier to manufacture offense. It's a lot harder to manufacture defense.
I don't know if the Vikings don't fumble 4 times, because I thought the Vikings defense was doing a good job against the Eagles, but they just fumbled 4 times and had such great field position. I was like, man, Flores turned this defense around.
There is a ceiling on this defense.
100%.
Just due to lack of talent.
100%.
And especially like. They're only going to get more injured as the year goes on because that's football.
But so are the offenses they play.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, okay, fair point. But I just don't see. I don't see this team being anything more than maybe a wild card exit.
I mean, like I told you, I'm hopping off of them as well. I don't even think they make playoffs. So I mean, I'm in agreement with you ultimately.
I'm not necessarily hopping off the Panthers wagon, though they are a bit more disappointing than I would have initially.
It was like
I thought they would start slow, but this is a bit much for me. But I'm not gonna say that they can't still round out into form. I still think they will be much.
Brett
better.
Coleman had them winning the division.
Yeah, I think I saw that, but
and I didn't laugh at it.
They will. I think they will round out into form like I thought they would. But
round out to 4-13.
It's a bit rougher to begin with than I would have initially suspected. So not off, but it's something to note, and we'll see where I am in a couple weeks or so. But that's where I'm at. So officially, I am out on the Chargers, Steelers, kind of Bengals.
That one's just like give us one more week.
Minnesota and Chicago. Okay, fair enough. But if they lose,
because if they go 0-3, like I said,
I'm out.
I'm ready to ring the bell and also say, hey. Just rest your quarterback. We know he's good. Just tank.
Yes. Don't let him die, please.
Just please
get
tank.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Get Marvin Harrison. Or if you have the 3rd pick and both of those, and Marvin Harrison's gone.
Draft Olu Fashanu so that Burrow doesn't.
I was gonna say take whoever the best lineman is, please.
Olu Fashanu, and if you're still top 10 but not quite top 3, go get Joe Alt or something.
There will be a good offensive lineman available when you pick if we miss the playoffs.
There are 3 that will be taken in the top 10. At least that's right now, presumably. If you get one of those 3, I think you feel okay. But I think that's where we are.
So, do you want to jump over to the biggest surprise of the season so far? This one will be more focused on players than teams, because the bandwagon thing was.
We just got done talking about them, but is it not Joe Burrow?
Yeah, I don't know. It is.
I don't know that it's not Joe Burrow because he's again maybe it's not necessarily surprising because of the injury, but he has looked rough.
Yeah, and like I said, I saw Joe Burrow come back during the Ravens game. He threw, I forget how much he was throwing for that during that one drive that made it 20. Yep. Made it like 20-27. But I was like, oh my god!
Surprise, actually, I have a positive surprise.
Oh, my positive surprise is Baker Mayfield. Not him playing elite level quarterback play, but I mean good quarterback play that we haven't seen since the one year that the Browns made the playoffs.
Yeah,
which they're not going to do this year.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mine is Puka Nacua.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Puka Nacua.
I knew about him. I was somewhat familiar with his game because I know Brett Coleman loved him.
Yeah.
But I didn't think he would break the NFL record for most catches in the first 2 games of a career and be on pace for over 200 catches.
I want to admit something, and then I want us to not talk about it. I just want to say that this happened, and we just completely. So I got Nacua off the waiver wire after week 1.
Yes.
And I thought he was going to be this 1-game wonder, and I traded him in fantasy.
All right, we don't need to talk.
We're not talking about it.
Section, and then I will make you.
No.
You could have at least waited one more week to do that, but I guess you wanted to trade him while his value was high.
Yeah, because I thought he was I thought he was gonna be a 1-game wonder.
You can tell me who you traded him for when we get to section 13. Here.
I will.
No, we're only a couple spots away here. But
if I win, did I win that week? Oh, I did win in the league that I traded him though for the week.
That's good.
But I don't want to say.
But yeah, Puka Nacua is a dog. Tutu Atwell, to a lesser extent, has also been a big surprise for, not necessarily because he hasn't been good, but just because it's less surprising. He was a second-round pick. They did invest a little more into him, but it's just taken him a while to come along. But yeah, both of those guys really just the Rams wide receiver room, big surprise, good surprise.
Yeah. Let me scan around the league here. Sam Howell isn't a surprise to me because I saw him play last year.
No, I thought he'd be good.
So he's not a surprise to me. I think he's probably a surprise to a lot of people who maybe didn't watch the one game he played, but not a surprise to me.
People who don't know ball.
The biggest surprise of the year is Aaron Rodgers' Achilles snapping 4 plays into his Jets career.
Yeah, you hate that. You definitely hate that.
Scanning. Brandon Staley still having a job is probably another big surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, but yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that here in just a minute.
I think that's it for surprises for me. Baker Mayfield, and then I don't know.
On an individual player basis, there aren't like a whole lot to my knowledge, but
I bet there. I mean, I'm sure there's tons we're missing.
Probably somewhere missing. I guess honorable mention Anthony Richardson. I'm not shocked by this at all, but I just thought it might take him. At least some time in the season for him and Steichen to like kind of get this thing going.
I was listening.
He looks awesome.
Yeah, I was listening to the PFF podcast, and they said that what they were saying when he was coming out has proven to be true. They were like, he's not raw, he's unexperienced. He's already more developed than Justin Fields is right now. And that was the thing. It's like, okay, I guess I could have seen this coming. He's not this raw athletic quarterback with no throwing ability, no ability to understand a defense at all. He does have that. He's better than I would have thought, and he's hit the ground running.
Yeah, which is exactly how I felt about him, and that's why he was my QB2 and why I had him above C.J. Stroud, and that is aging like fine wine through 2 weeks. Not that Stroud has been bad by any means.
I would have at this point. He probably should have gone 1. I mean, I know it's way too soon to say. But 2 weeks in,
Richardson would be struggling a bit in Carolina right now. In all fairness,
his rush ability would be elevating that team more than Bryce Young.
Yes, but I think if you put Bryce Young on Indianapolis, I think he would look a lot better than he has been. Better offensive line,
but he is better. Yeah, he would look better than he is now. But I just think Richardson looks
everything really better everything offensively to work with.
I just think Richardson just looks a lot better.
Indianapolis is back, by the way.
Oh yeah, not too shocking.
They've graded out really well. Like they look well for the last couple of years. It had been at a pretty steep decline, so it's good to see them finally back to form. Will Freeze was really good. Ryan Kelly was really good. You know, you want to see more of that from them. But great start to the season for this Colts O-line. But so another surprise. Colts O-line is back. Not necessarily surprising because they've always had that potential. They used to be an elite unit. They're getting back to it. It's nice to see.
Yeah. So do you want to go into a real negative note and talk about these recent wave of injuries and how they could affect their teams?
Beating a dead horse here, but the Joe Burrow re-aggravation is...
I was thinking the recent wave. The Saquon, Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
I feel like someone else got hurt recently.
Saquon is too important to that Giants offense.
Yeah, he is their offense.
He is because a lot of the Daniel Jones stuff is kind of gimmicky with Saquon, and it's like they're not going to have no value whatsoever on offense.
Luckily, he's only out for a couple of weeks, and it's not a season-ending injury, unlike Nick Chubb.
See how they look in those couple of weeks. But
yeah. Let's see who they play, because I think he's out.
What's up?
So
you think he's out for?
Oh, they play the Niners on Thursday, so that's a loss.
That's right. I think
they're missing. Actually, I'm looking at it. They're missing him for like their most important stretch here. They play the Niners, then the Seahawks, then the Dolphins, and then the Bills.
Yeah,
they're cooked.
It doesn't get any more unforgiving than that.
Their only chance of winning any of those games would have been Saquon's specialness.
Yeah, and they still have to play Dallas one more time, Philly twice, and the Commanders twice.
They play Philly 2 of their last 3 weeks.
That's like what the Titans do with Houston every year.
We used to do that all the time with Washington.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Yeah,
but I hate the way they schedule division matchups because that happens with multiple teams every single year.
I just want to bring this up because I don't know whenever else I'll get the chance. When they added the 17th game, I forget how they added. I forget what their rotation is. But what they needed to have done, and this is what I really wanted, was regional-based games.
Yeah.
Every year we get a battle of Texas between the Texans and the Cowboys. We get a battle of LA every year. Chargers and the Rams. Battle of New York, Jets, Giants. Just battle of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Commanders versus Ravens. You get the DMV matchup.
That would be there. There's just so many you could do.
Versus the Falcons, maybe, just because geographically it's kind of close.
There's a couple ones that aren't going to hit as much as the others.
No,
but the ones that hit so good that you just have to do it.
Yep.
And I'm still upset that they didn't do that.
I hear you.
But
like Saquon Barkley, I think is the most impactful one, at least in the short term. Of course, long term, it's Nick Chubb. But
to me, I think even in the short term, it's Nick Chubb. I get that you're high on Ford or whatever, but Nick Chubb to me is the best runner in the NFL. I mean,
I agree.
Second best back behind CMC in my opinion, and we've seen how Deshaun Watson is playing. They need everything that they can get from their running backs, and without Nick Chubb, the Browns had a chance to win the division, and it's just gone.
Cleveland's got a tough task ahead of them in terms of can you run the ball, because they play Tennessee this week. And we'll see what Jerome Ford can do against this elite run defense. But,
So
I
they're
hope we
done.
sack Deshaun Watson 15 times.
And then for the obvious one, another obvious one, I know I said this recent wave, but adding in Aaron Rodgers, obviously, what the Jets should do is stick with Zach Wilson because they're going to lose games and they can get a high draft.
You may as well see what you have with them as well.
Because they'll be able to get a high draft pick because the pick being a first-round pick this year was dependent on Rodgers playing a certain percentage, and he's not going to.
And he's very
so it'll be a first. They'll have their first, and they could get one of these top offensive linemen that they're going to need. So play Zach Wilson and lose. I get that it's tough, and I do understand in the NFL, I do think it is important to build on last year, even if you have Rodgers gone and get some play. If you could get playoff experience for this group, that'd be huge to then go with Rodgers, but just stick with Zach Wilson, get an offensive lineman.
And this was such a huge year for Saleh as well because it's a year three. And year three really is put up or shut up time for a head coach if you haven't made the playoffs your first 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's also if they miss out this year, it's not his fault. I mean, his starting quarterback played 4 snaps.
He has an easy out because of that, and he's a defensive mind, and their defense is elite. So he gets to say, so "Hey, I'm promising what I'm supposed to do," and our quarterback got hurt, so I think he'll be fine.
Yes. I think him and Joe Douglas are safe for another year. Now, if they struggle next year with Aaron Rodgers, I think, you talk about maybe cleaning house. But again, I like this coaching staff. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll be okay. And they'll be competitive all year this year. But, it's just going to be tough.
But we can move off the negative of injuries and just move on to the negative incompetence and talk about the hottest seat in the NFL. And we've talked about it this whole time.
I have no idea who's got a fire under his ass right now. It's Brandon Staley.
Yeah,
he's no secret.
He's gone.
There's a less than 0% chance he is the Chargers head coach week 1 next year. It's not going to happen.
He's out.
I hate making statements like that, especially because it's only been 2 games. But you're the only team in NFL history to score 50 points and have 0 turnovers in the first 2 games and be 0-2. That's coaching.
There's also, including the last couple of the last couple games, including the playoffs. Last year they've had like 7 I think it was their last 3 games. They've had like 7 takeaways, and they're 0-3. It was 7 takeaways, 0 giveaways, 0-3.
And you and I both said that for him to be the coach next year, he needs to not only make the playoffs again, he needs to win a playoff game. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
It's not going to happen.
Nope.
He's gone.
Kellen
Moore might just be gone after 1 year with this team. If
you're firing the head coach, usually you're firing everybody.
You usually clean house.
Or at the very least, you let the new head coach decide who stays. But for non-head coaches, for not a head coach,
Matt Canada.
I know people have said Russell. Yeah, that too. But Russell Wilson, I know people have said he's looked better, but I don't think he's looked good enough. And I know that they scored a good bit this last week, but I think he's on thin ice. They bring in a new head coach. It's another year of the contract over with. I don't know what year the out is, but I think it's very likely.
It can't come soon enough.
Yeah, it's very likely. And
he
then
does look better. I'm not necessarily out on what Wilson could be this
I'm
year.
pretty out.
Hear you. Yeah.
And then I know it's probably too soon to say, but I think the heat is on Kenny Pickett. Because that whole team, if they miss the playoffs, I think they at least start looking at quarterbacks.
Yes. No, I understand. Now, granted, I feel like if you're going to move off Kenny Pickett, you need to move off Matt Canada as well.
Yes.
And then you also need to revamp that offensive line, because I'm not saying Pickett's not at fault for any of this, because Pickett has looked rough, but the pass protection is not doing him any favors, and neither is the Matt Canada play calling.
And was Jonathan Gannon already on the hot seat 2 weeks in? Everyone had him on the hot seat before the season started. As soon as
I thought he might not finish the season because he seems like a bonehead. Like, he just seems like you got that fire in your gut. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Granted, his general manager is Monty Austinfort, and if he comes from the Titans, who do not like to get rid of coaches very early on. So, granted, I don't know how much power Monty has over Gannon. That's probably more of an owner decision. Yeah. But in general, I don't think this regime only gets 1 year to figure things out. I think they could go 0-17, and he's probably the guy next year.
And then
who's going to take that job? Well, actually, plenty of guys would want to coach.
Yeah.
Forget I asked that.
But and then the Bears.
Yeah.
The offensive coordinator's for sure on the hot seat. Justin Fields is on the hot seat. I think
Eberflus's hot seat is there too.
Yeah.
I'm
just saying at a minimum it's the OC, but yeah.
Yeah. He's been awful. But
I mean, pretty much all the 0-2 teams have hot seats. The only ones that I think don't are the Panthers and the probably the Patriots as well. Because I liked how they've looked even in the losses.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, are you really going to say Bill Belichick's on the hot seat?
I think after last season, I think the question was starting to formulate. But I
think he needs to turn it around eventually. But I'm not going to be like, okay, 2 games into this season where they've looked competitive and they've lost to 2 good teams.
Yeah, that's why I don't think. Yeah, to me, the Panthers and the Patriots are the only 0-2 teams without any hot seats.
Yes.
Oh, I guess the Texans.
Minnesota as well. I wouldn't say Kevin O'Connell's on the hot seat. He won 13 games as a rookie.
But does that team look at Kirk Cousins? I think questions start.
I know he's on the hot seat, but I think in general, is it time for like a rebuild in Minnesota? I think they could ask that question.
And I think if they say yes, I think they trade Kirk.
Yeah, I think so too, but I don't necessarily think that's because Kirk's on the hot seat or he's playing poorly. I think that's just an organization knows when it's time to blow up, and it might be this year.
With his primetime and playoff woes, I think if they miss the playoffs, his seat's hot. I'm not saying it's
fair enough.
He gets burned off of it, but I think it's hot.
Enough. I think that's okay.
Any more hot seats? Or are we checking fantasy teams?
I'm looking for players.
For me, when I'm talking about hot seat, it's really just head coaches and quarterbacks.
Coach, yeah. I have a hard time going Chase Claypool,
Also because when it's positions that you can have multiple guys on the field, it's like, okay, your hot seat from this position, like wide receiver 1, you're now wide receiver 2. Yeah. It's just like, yeah.
So I think that's about it. I'm with you. I think Matt Eberflus and Justin Fields. And then you get, I think Kevin Stefanski. I mentioned him earlier. I didn't mention him now, but I think Kevin Stefanski's on the hot seat. Now I know they're 1-1.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
But if you saw Brown's Twitter last night, they do not like this guy.
Yeah, and they're also having to watch Baker Mayfield be better than Deshaun Watson.
Yes, they do. Granted, now
I know
process over results, but granted, how good is the process really when the guy had 24 assault accusations and hadn't played football for 2 years?
So, and it's all, what is it? Is it all guaranteed?
Yeah, it's fully guaranteed, like $250 million fully guaranteed.
Yeah,
he gets that money. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous contract.
So we talked about that contract already. So
and
we talked about our feelings of him.
For sure, and in general, that whole regime in Cleveland is the clock's ticking.
Yeah. So, do you want to go over fantasy teams then?
I lost by half a point, and that's really all I have to say. DeAndre Swift was on my bench, and I played Alexander Madison because I forgot to set my lineup, so I didn't put. I forgot to set it on Thursday, anyways. I also this week I decided to play Traylon Burks instead of Drake London. Now Burks had outscored his projection, but Drake London outscored Traylon Burks and would have won me the game. So.
That's how I lost in the playoffs last year. I lost by less than 1 point.
Had I completely forgotten to set my lineup, I would have won. But because I just decided last minute, I'll put Traylon Burks in. I feel like he'll have a good game, and he did. He had 3 catches for 76 yards. That's solid. But London had like 6 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown or something like that. I think so.
Yeah.
Outscored him. I lost by half a point. It's tough. I wasn't even mad because the Titans won a game. Like nothing could have possibly knocked me off the high that I was on when the Titans finally won a football game. But yeah, I lost by half a point. And that's really all I have to say. And DeAndre Swift was on my bench, scoring 27.8 or whatever he did.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
So last week I went 2-1 in my 3 leagues.
Yes.
This week I went 1-2. And it just flipped. The leagues that I won in, I lost in, and then the league that I lost in, I won in. So all 3 leagues I'm 1-1. I beat Gabe. That's the highlight, though. Gabe was the highest scorer last week, and I came in. I just played incredible defense, I guess, and I managed to win.
That's all that matters. You won. You beat Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, even without him, I still would have won because I beat Gabe by a lot. I think I had the biggest. Biggest blowout. Because Sleeper does these like superlative things at the end of the week.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the Sleeper superlative. I haven't played Sleeper in a couple of years.
I like Sleeper more than ESPN.
Yep.
I like the interface. But yeah, I was the most efficient manager, and I had the biggest blowout. I had the best wide receiver in fantasy, according to Sleeper, with Keenan Allen giving me 31 points.
Hell yeah.
So he
had a good game.
Yeah, he carried me for that league, and then for the other league, let's see. What happened here? Right, Aaron Jones was out, so I just didn't have running back help because I had. Yeah. So I did pick up Zach Moss, who gave me 20 points, so that was great. But then all I had left was Roshan Johnson, who gave me 6.2. I'm trying to see who really disappointed me. No one truly disappointed me. It's just I went up against Jalen Hurts, who had 33 points. Keenan, I played against Keenan Allen in this league, 32 points. Brian Robinson, 30 points. Tyler Lockett, 25. So just more of a credible performance by them than lack of performance by me. But then the ESPN Fantasy League, my running back 2 was Nick Chubb.
Yep.
And he is out for the year. And I got absolutely blown out. I lost by 100 points in this league. Let me see. Yeah. Because Christian McCaffrey was the only bright spot, giving me 24. But Anthony Richardson got hurt, 17 points. But then I had Calvin Ridley, who I'm assuming I'm assuming this week was his worst performance. He gave me like 5 points.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins gave me 8. The defense, I had the Broncos defense this week, thinking that I don't know,
brother.
Yeah, they gave me -4 points.
Yeah, you would have been better off not playing anybody.
Yeah, but just hey, we move on. We ball.
Yes, sir.
So I'm 1-1 in all my leagues. I am exploring trades, but I'm just not optimistic about anything.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I think I'll turn it around. I think I'm in 3 leagues. There's no way I missed the playoffs in all 3 leagues.
Yeah.
So we ball. I think in one of the leagues I'm so stacked at wide receiver. I'm going to trade one of those wide receivers for a running back because the wide receivers I have are Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, and Jordan Addison.
Yeah, so, you could do a lot. You could do a lot worse than that.
So I'm gonna
play those guys every week.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn one of them to a running back. I just have to explore. I also gotta wait for waiver wires because if I get Kyron Williams, I might not touch him because then I'll just play Kyron Williams. But
did nobody sign Williams last week?
No.
Insane.
So I put in the waiver wire claim.
I move on to picks.
Yeah, is this our best segment? Is this?
It's one of my favorite segments.
Yeah, I love it.
I love this one. I love the conversations we have on this one.
Yeah, and then
I love that Minnesota and the Chargers play each other this week.
And
because that's oh boy, if the Chargers start 0-3, that's a whole nother conversation.
And there's a lot riding on this week because the first week I outscored you by 1. And then the second week, you outscored me by 1, so now we're tied.
And I changed my pick. By the way, last week, I picked New England to beat Miami. And then I saw that like 4 out of 5 of New England's starting offensive line was on the injury report. And I said, fuck that. And I picked Miami. So
wow.
I did actually pick Miami. You said, let's try not to make any changes unless there's something drastic. your entire starting offensive line being on the injury report.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah,
So,
but I thought I thought we would talk to each other.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to text you that I was gonna change it, but like
I would have
okayed
it. But
now that we're getting into now that we're getting into now that we're getting into the picks for next week, I figured I'd tell you now.
Yeah.
I did change my pick to my. And you know what the difference was in this week? You know why I beat you by 1?
Why?
It's because you didn't pick the Titans. You son of a bitch. Had you just picked the damn Titans, you'd still be in the lead.
We'll talk about the Titans later with these picks.
The
so the first one is Giants at San Francisco. That is.
You just spend more than 5 seconds on this one.
Yeah, San Francisco. Saquon's out as well.
Respectfully.
And then Falcons at Detroit. I'm picking Detroit.
I'm going to Atlanta.
I'm taking Detroit. It's on the road.
Atlanta Falcons.
And my Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm with them. Like this one, I thought about for a minute.
Well, I think the Lions are better than the Packers, and the Falcons only beat the Packers by 1.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think, I don't know, the way Atlanta plays football, I think they've got a decent matchup here.
Oh, they have a chance, but I'll take the Lions. But then Bills at Commanders.
This will be a nice game. Buffalo,
I got Bills,
but not by a ton.
Buffalo by 2 scores.
Okay.
I just think, I think Josh Allen is the dog. Josh Allen.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then
Miami by 50. Vic Fangio revenge.
Denver at Miami. Gotta go Miami.
Vic Fangio revenge game.
Yeah, I guess. And then Texans at Jags. I know that Trevor Lawrence does not have a good record against the Texans. He's like 1-3.
I don't care.
But yeah, neither do I. I'm taking the Jags.
Yep.
Colts
Houston will get one eventually.
Colts at Ravens.
If Anthony Richardson was playing in this game, I would be very tempted to pick the Colts upset. But obviously Gardner Minshew is. You can do a lot worse at backup than Gardner Minshew. But I think Baltimore's got this
one. If it was in Indianapolis, I think I'd pick the Colts.
Yep.
Gosh, I think Gardner Minshew can dot up an injured Ravens secondary.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Colts.
You're gonna go Colts.
I'm gonna go Colts. Let's go Colts.
Let's
be. We're tied. I gotta take some gambles here. I'm here to win.
Okay, fair enough. But if Richardson was playing in this game, I would probably also go Colts, just because I think it'd be that kind of upset, But
then Chargers at Minnesota.
Minnesota wins this game. Brandon Staley gets fired after this game. That's my full-on prediction. Minnesota wins. I don't care if it's on some bullshit in the fourth quarter or if they blow him out. Brandon Staley is not going to be on the team playing back home.
I just think there's no way that the Minnesota Vikings fumble 4 times again. So I'm going to pick the Vikings as well.
The Vikings are almost having like the opposite of what they had last year, where they would win all these games out of their ass. Now they're losing games out of their ass.
But this isn't a primetime game. So I'm gonna ride with Kirk Cousins.
This is 1 p.m. Eastern, so this is noon Cousins in Minnesota. This is noon. I'm pretty sure Central Time. So this is noon Cousins. This is when he's playing his best football. I've got Minnesota, and I genuinely believe there's a very good chance Brandon Staley gets fired if they start
0-3.
Yeah.
I would think it'd be week 4. I think it's an 0-4 start. He gets fired.
Fair enough.
But all right, so Patriots at Jets. I think the Patriots finally get their first win of the season.
I'm with you on this one. I think this is gonna be the final score is gonna be 10-7, or 7-3, or 2-0, or whatever. But it's gonna be New England win nonetheless.
And then Saints at Packers.
I've got Green Bay winning this one, not by a lot. But
I think if Alvin Kamara was playing, I would pick the Saints, but he's not. So I'm gonna.
He's out until week 5, right? Or how many games?
This is his last week, not coming back.
Oh, he only 3 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, I'm gonna pick the Saints, but if Aaron Jones is playing, I want to be able to change it back. I want to change it to the Packers. I'm gonna make that stipulation right now. If Aaron Jones is playing, I'm gonna change it to the Packers. But if he's not, I'm gonna go Saints.
I'm gonna say Green Bay regardless. I think Green Bay gets this one.
Titans at Browns.
You're asking Jerome Ford to beat the Titans' run defense. And then, if that doesn't work, you're asking Deshaun Watson to win you a game through the air against this pass rush after he just got sacked a bajillion times last week. Tennessee's winning this football game.
it's really easy for me to never pick against Deshaun, and I'm going to continue to do so. So I'm picking the Titans.
Yes.
And then we have
See,
Panthers.
We can make it so simple.
Then we have Panthers at Seahawks. I'm going to go with Seahawks.
As much as I would love for Carolina to win their first game, I think Seattle's at home. They're just, that home field advantage in Seattle's insane. And they're a better football team. Right
and then Chicago Bears at Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, this is gonna be another rough week for Bears fans.
Yeah, I think
Maggie revenge game.
I think Justin Fields has a good fantasy week. I bet he runs. I think he runs for 2 touchdowns. But
interesting. You should bet that. I'll bet it for you.
No.
I'll do it. I'll do Justin Fields 2 right now. I'll put like $2 on it just for fun.
And then Cowboys at the Cardinals.
This is gonna be another trouncing for Dallas.
The question is, does Dallas give up a touchdown?
Yes. Only because Josh Dobbs has been playing some pretty good football for the most part. They give up 1 touchdown though, and that's the only score Arizona gets all game. This is going to be, I'm gonna say 35-7.
I think Micah Parsons causes a quarterback change.
Quarterback change?
Yeah. I think
via injury? Or?
Yeah, I actually think he hurts him.
Oh my God! Well, I would love to see Clayton Tune, so I'm not opposed to that. I want to see him play some football.
But yeah, I got the Cowboys by 32.
A bajillion, maybe. Yeah. I'm gonna say 35-7 is the.
I'm thinking 35-3.
Okay, so we're almost in the same.
I think they get a field goal because if they have a good either kickoff or punt return that gets them into good range. But their offense doesn't do anything with the position, and they kick a field goal.
Steelers at Raiders.
I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Interesting. I'm going with Pittsburgh, but I don't feel good about it.
This is such a could go either way game.
I'm not watching this game. This is prime time.
Yeah, this is prime time. I think I think I will end up watching some of this game. I would be surprised if I finish.
We're going to bed early.
I'm just going to say I'd be surprised if I finish this game.
We are going to bed early on September 24th. That's all I know.
Yeah.
All right, another Monday night doubleheader, 2 weeks in a row. I didn't know they did that. But
Eagles at Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Just for fun, is because the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going. With
you know what, Baker? Continue your story, brother. Primetime Baker.
The insanity run's gonna run out eventually.
Not against the Eagles.
It's got Baker Mayfield's gonna get eaten alive.
No.
On the interior, yes.
He gets the ball out quick enough.
Yeah,
Mike Evans and Godwin have been playing great. Mike Evans especially.
Yeah, they're both awesome.
And the Eagles' secondary hasn't been too good to start this year.
I still think Philly's got this one.
I got the Bucks. And then Rams at Bengals. I'm gonna be honest. I'm picking the Bengals just because if the Bengals lose,
you and I are gonna have one of us is gonna be winning by a lot.
We do pick a lot of different games. I forgot.
Yeah,
It'll probably we'll probably just end up splitting.
Yeah,
probably just
or I'll be right. No, probably I'll be right on all of these. And I'll go 16-0 this week.
Okay, this is the week you go 16-0.
You'll go like 10-6 or whatever.
I'm just going off the vibes.
I'm picking the Rams. I don't even know if Joe Burrow's playing in this game, and if he does,
that is the thing though. If Joe Burrow plays, I'm picking the Bengals, and if
I'm picking the Rams no matter what.
So I have two. I think I'm gonna have 2 stipulations. If Aaron Jones plays, I'm changing to the Packers, and if Joe Burrow doesn't play, I'll switch to the Rams.
Yep, that's fair. But I'm gonna say Rams no matter what.
So
in this game,
I'm gonna say let's go and lock in the picks, and I would like to point in that after the first week, I told Gabe that he didn't make his picks, and he was like, "I know, but comeback season." It made it sound like he would start to make picks, and then he just didn't.
Yeah, he did say he swore he would make his picks week 2, and he just
didn't.
Hasn't made any picks. I wonder if he'll start this week.
I doubt it. Should we remind him?
No, it'd be really funny if you and I finish with really good scores and he's just 0-0.
Yeah.
But so what are we looking at here next? Is the college football talk?
Yeah. If you still want to do this.
Tennessee lost to Florida.
Yeah.
I was grilling and drinking, so I didn't have to watch this. Thank goodness. I watched like the first couple of drives where Florida punted and Tennessee scored a touchdown, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, we're winning by 40," and then we lost by 13. Yeah. And there was a fight, and there's some players that are going to be suspended. That was the
only thing I saw about that game because I tuned into the Colorado State game, and all I saw was the fight at the Tennessee Florida.
That's another thing. Colorado struggled early, but they pulled out in the end. Travis Hunter's got to miss about 3 weeks. Which
Yeah,
is
that's
awful.
huge.
You hate to see that.
And I hate the hit,
especially because they're playing like Oregon and USC and somebody else.
Yeah, it's the most important stretch of their.
Like, I want to say they're fucked, but I mean it's gonna be tough without, the only two-way player really in college football.
Yeah.
And he's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
You're shit out of luck. I think that's just a tough loss for any team. But yeah. Alabama struggled versus USF. I was going to go to this game if it wasn't my mom's birthday. Like,
I remember you talking about it.
Then I was going to go, and then because I didn't connect the dots that it was on September 16th. So my sister texted me the night before, like, "Hey, do you want us to come get you?" And I'm like, "Oh fuck." It's my mom's birthday. I'm gonna be with her. So I texted my friend John, who was gonna go to the game with, like, "Hey, I can't go. I totally forgot. It's on the 16th. That's my mom's birthday." And I paid him back for my ticket, which I was gonna do regardless. And then he went to the game, but left before halftime because of the rain. And there was a lightning delay in that game, anyways. But it was raining so bad, like it was pouring when my mom and I were driving. So it rained like crazy. But Alabama looked like shit. Tyler Buckner got benched. He didn't even get a full game. They put Ty Simpson in, and he looked better. But they're still starting Jalen Milroe next week, which I feel like Ty Simpson deserves a chance to start at least one game this year. I still can't believe they started Buckner over him. Buckner stinks.
Yeah.
But whatever.
What happened with
do his job?
For the most of that Texas Wyoming game? Wasn't it like super close?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were tied up until the fourth quarter, but I think Texas scored like 21 in the fourth quarter to put.
I just pulled it up right now. Yeah.
Also,
Quinn Ewers had a terrible first half.
I had a terrible week betting on college football and an amazing week betting on the NFL.
Did you just even out?
Like a kind of, yeah, for the most part. I went 4-0 in NFL and 0-3 in college, so I actually won. I went 4-3, and it was perfect for the NFL, and just completely missed in college. Because in college, I had Tennessee, Iowa State, and Kansas State all covering the spread. Not only did none of them cover, they all lost. So I should have bet money line on all three of their opponents. Iowa State kind of got screwed because they kicked a field goal that was good, and the refs just said.
I saw that.
And then they lost 7-10. If that game had gone to overtime, maybe Iowa State would have covered. I don't know, but
yeah, that's wild.
But anywho, either way, you should not be losing to Ohio if you're Iowa State. I know Iowa State has never been like an elite program, and like. See, some people say things about Matt Campbell right now where it's like, if you remember where Iowa State was before Matt Campbell got there, they're still better than what they have been. But either way, the pedigree of Matt Campbell, I think, is a bit too high for them to be losing this close to Ohio. But yeah, so tough week for me. Like I mentioned earlier, the thicker kicker hit a 61-yard game winner to beat Kansas State.
Yeah.
Which that was a good game.
Any other notable games?
Penn State covered versus Illinois. I didn't bet on that one, but Drew Aller didn't have his best game, but there were a lot of drops, and including what I believe was just an insane throw that he made. It was in a really tight formation. The receiver was running outside in the end zone, and he threw just a rainbow over the defender's head to where only his receiver could get it perfectly in the breadbasket, and he just let it go through his hands. And it's like, not only is that an NFL throw, but there's like maybe 10 guys in the league who are making that throw. And it's like Drew Aller, I'd be pretty surprised we got a long way to go, but like 2025 draft, that's probably the number 1 overall pick. Drew Aller.
Wow.
I'm going to say right now, we got a long way to go. As of right this moment, well, granted, we had a long way to go last year, and Caleb Williams was everybody's consensus number 1, and what is he right now? He's the consensus number 1. So,
but he was talking. There was like generational talks of him, so I feel like it's less.
Fair enough, but Drew Aller, what he's doing right now is he's phenomenal, and I think we're only going to see it more as they start playing better teams, and like the Ohio States and the Michigans of the world.
Yeah.
But especially he's got next year too. If they win a national championship next year, which I'm not sitting here and say they are.
Right.
But if Drew Aller wins a natty, that'd be huge.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they do win one. I'm not a Penn State fan by any means, but I love Drew Aller, and I really want to see him succeed, and I really do think he'll be the number 1 pick. So hopefully within the next couple of years he solidifies that spot. But yeah.
Do you want to move on to the top threes?
A little bit of early draft talk here, but yeah, top three.
So, this is a weekly segment where we pick a category each week and give our top threes within that category. Last week was TV shows. This week, movies. I've had my three set for a long time. Do you got your three?
I actually don't know that I do. I have one, so I'll let you go first.
Okay.
And see if I can't formulate the other two.
So, let me try to think of the order. So, number 3 is It's a Wonderful Life. It is my favorite Christmas movie. I've watched it every Christmas day for the past couple of years.
It's a fantastic movie.
One of the most, paid homage to, parodied, ripped off, whatever stories of just, somebody wishing like they were never born, and then an angel showing them what life would have been like for everyone else if they had never been born. The first time I ever saw that type of storyline, I think, was Hannah Montana. She wishes she was never Hannah Montana, was only ever Miley Cyrus, and she shows the world. She gets shown that world, which I remembered wrong because I thought it was her brother wishing he had never been born for some reason.
Oh, shit.
And that just wasn't the story at all. Because I think eventually I'm going to make a movie where I talk about different Wonderful Life parodies. Because there's that. Muppets have their own. iCarly has one. Hannah Montana. I feel like there's another one I'm missing. I mean, there's tons, but that I was going to talk about. But yeah. Number 2. This is a movie this is so funny. This is a movie I've seen once on an airplane with one earbud in, watching it with my sister. So I need to see it again. But I loved it so much. It's Silent Voice.
Okay.
It's an anime. This deaf girl gets bullied, and then a couple years later, her and one of the guys at the school that kind of bullied, they start to. He kind of is starting to I guess struggle with depression. It seems like, and they just kind of start to connect with each other. And at the ending, I feel like they end as, I feel like a romantic relationship is hinted at, them having feelings towards each other, but it doesn't end with them coming together in that way. Just a more friendly ending, but it's just a really beautiful movie. Nice. with big mental health talk, which was it hit hard at the time. It was really good to see. And then my number one movie of all time. It has been my number one movie for years.
Yes, sir.
This is a movie I bring up anytime people talk about movies. I'm like, okay, but have you seen this? And this movie, everybody knows Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Everybody knows Joaquin.
Yeah. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is the main character in this movie, and he does his job. It is an amazing performance in an amazing movie. Can you guess what Joaquin Phoenix movie I'm talking about?
I really hope it's not the Joker.
It's Brother Bear. I fucking love that movie so much. I like to do that because I know people are like, "Oh, it's one of those guys."
One of those guys who doesn't know that it's just a ripoff of Taxi Driver.
It's still a good movie. It's still a really good movie, and Joaquin Phoenix is really good in it.
Plagiarism. It is plagiarism. If you watch Taxi Driver,
but anyways, Brother Bear, story of a guy who's. The essential story is his brother is killed by a bear who he eventually tracks down and kills. And then he gets turned into a bear, meets the bear that he killed. He finds her cub and just kind of becomes the big brother to the cub.
Brother Bear.
And a lot of crazy stuff happens in the movie. It is such a beautiful movie. And I didn't know that Joaquin Phoenix, his brother was an actor who had passed away. And I'm assuming that played a part in him doing this movie. And
yeah, probably it was very personal.
Yeah, I would assume so. And it's a great movie. It's been my favorite movie for years. It's something I watch every now and then. Really, really good. But what about you? What is your top three?
All right, so this is number one. It's been my number one my whole life. It's going to continue to be for a long time.
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, valid.
It's my favorite movie ever, and it is definitely I think a 10 out of 10. If you look at it critically, I mean, obviously, that's subjective, but I think what it does, especially what it does as a sequel, it does everything a sequel is supposed to do.
Elevates everything previously established.
It is definitely the best middle film in a trilogy ever. I would say. I don't know that there's ever been a trilogy with a second movie that is. Don't say Spider-Man 2. I'm looking at your face. Don't say Spider-Man 2.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about a different Spider-Man movie.
Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
We haven't seen the third.
I know, but you were just saying in a trilogy, and it is in a trilogy. We just haven't seen the third yet. But Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man 1.
Yes, but
and is a 10 out of 10.
I guess Across the Spider-Verse is this generation's Empire Strikes Back, but The Empire Strikes Back is also The Empire Strikes Back, like the actual Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
and it's so rewatchable.
So one generation had Empire Strikes Back, another one had Spider-Man 2, and then another one had Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, sir.
Spider-Man rules all.
Classics, yes, sir. Number 2, I feel like The Princess Bride is in there somewhere for me.
Great pick.
I love The Princess Bride. One of the most quotable movies ever. I haven't seen it in years.
Inconceivable.
I gotta watch it again sometime soon.
Yeah.
The scene with the iocane poisoning. Where,
yes.
They're doing the mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
Cups, and she's like, "Which one was poison?" He was like, "Oh, both of them. I built up an immunity a long time ago."
Yeah.
It's like, the whole way through, you're like, you're locked in. You don't know what's going on, and then, he dies, and he's like, "Nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
it don't hurt me." And then there's
As You Wish.
Yeah, then there's my name is Inigo Montoya.
Yes.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yes.
And then was I'd help you, but I'm trying to kill you. Oh, that does put a damper on our relationship. I still say, but that does put a damper on our relationship, like in everyday conversation, all the time.
That's a movie I need to rewatch. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
One of these, if my next movie week, if it hasn't been done yet, I'll choose that for us.
Yeah.
But speaking of, we haven't watched Gabe's yet, so we need to get on that.
That's and I was gonna bring it up when we did this during the other media we're consuming. I still haven't seen it either, but just I figured we would let the pod in on the movie picks because I'm trying to remember what he made it.
He switched. Initially, it was Lahane, but he changed it. So
yeah,
sure.
It is. I'll just scroll up and find it. The Hunt.
But okay, let me think of a third
Fincherberg.
film.
Yeah. So you've never seen Brother Bear?
I've never seen Brother Bear.
Yeah.
So I cannot unfortunately include it in my. Let me look at my Letterboxd reviews. Which ones I'm like really passionate about.
Dude,
and then I'll take a gander.
While you look it up, I'll just say something real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm doing a video on the Oscars. It's gonna be a new series on the channel. I go through every decade of Best Picture winners, and there was a Letterboxd segment for each one where I look at Letterboxd reviews for them, and
I got
they're hilarious. Go ahead.
I got it. Ratatouille.
Okay, that's valid. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it better be. No, Ratatouille.
Yeah, you better fucking like that movie.
I would, in my opinion, it is the best Pixar film. There's some other hot contenders.
I think Incredibles is my favorite.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, we said at the same time.
My immediate number 2 would be The Incredibles. And I think they're on like the same tier. I'm not saying like Ratatouille's like in a league of its own.
You see an Incredibles Easter egg in Ratatouille.
Yeah. But I think Ratatouille is probably my favorite Pixar film, and I think it is ultimately like. I don't even know that these are definitively my top 3 movies of all time, but these are definitely the first 3 that come to mind for me. Also, honorable mention, but I've been watching a lot of Ghibli, and I mean, Spirited Away is a 10 out of 10
Spirited
film.
Away is the first anime anything I've ever seen, and it was a crazy experience.
Grave of the Fireflies. We talked about it last week. It shook both of us to our
Shut the fuck up, Jacob. Don't bring that movie up.
I won't say anything more about it. Howl's Moving Castle is
I still need to see
incredible. Princess Mononoke is awesome. Ponyo is the most adorable movie I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
What else have I watched from Ghibli? I watched Kiki's Delivery Service. I wasn't as high on it as everybody else is. I thought it was, I don't know, a bit. I don't know the word for it, but I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either. But overall, I've been really enjoying Ghibli, and I need to finish the Ghibli-verse, so to speak. But yeah, honorable mention to several Ghibli movies because there are multiple 10s in that catalog. But yeah, where are we at now?
Well, now we could just do the other media we're consuming.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Okay, I'll start us off just because I was thinking about this while we were talking because I watched the Kelce documentary.
Yep. Was
really good. And by the way,
nice.
There is no way this is not his. This has to be his last season.
Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
With how much he really contemplated retiring this last offseason, the toll it's clearly taken on his body, his desire to be fully mobile for his daughters as they're, super young. He just had another kid. I would have such a hard time imagining that he doesn't retire after this season.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like they're in good hands. I like Cam Jurgens. I love what Cam Jurgens could be as their future center.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be best for all parties involved if Kelce.
The other thing is we see him looking like he's already trying to find stuff to do after retirement. That's one of the big things is he's trying all these different avenues, dipping his hand in all these different things, and then he finally starts doing the podcast with his brother, and it feels like that's like here it is.
Yeah,
I found it. So it seems like the retirement is probably just it's gonna happen.
Yep. And their podcast is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's still probably like the number one football sports podcast.
I don't know if Bussin' with the Boys is above them, but it shouldn't be, to be quite honest with you. And I say this as a Titans fan. Bussin' with the Boys, ever since they sold out to Barstool, the content's been not great. But be honest with you, actually, the number one sports podcast in America is this one right here that you're listening to.
Oh, hey, so on the road to it, on the road, baby.
On our way to number one. But
I'll just go ahead and bring this up. We probably should start posting this on different
avenues.
Yeah,
I should be putting clips on my Instagram and
that too.
Yeah,
I was talking about just whole podcast
up.
Yeah,
shit. Yeah. No, you're
we'll
right.
look into it. But yeah, anyways, if you're listening on there, hey, we found it.
Yeah, but let's see. What else you been on lately?
I'm still watching Freaks and Geeks. I watched an episode before we started this because I'm doing that for another video. Jason Segel had probably the best performance out of that show so far in this one specific scene. Underrated actor, probably, because I remember him having some scenes like this in How I Met Your Mother. I'm thinking of one scene in particular when he was fighting with Lily. But this scene, it was about passion versus reality. Him wanting to be a drummer, but that probably not happening, and just I love this expression, and I've been overusing it since I heard it. But that motherfucker's rent was due when he had to do that scene. I was sitting there and I was like, yo, Seagal's going off right now. Yeah, so good.
That's such a relatable concept. You know what I mean? Like having a dream and realizing it's likely unachievable.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, shit, my dad is gonna.
Had one of those, all of us.
It's like that, and it's like he's like not doing well in school. He's like, so the result is gonna be his dad is gonna force him to go into the army, which he doesn't want to do. But he's like, that is probably how my life is going to end up.
Yep.
And the season only, the show only had one season, and I saw what the creators they say what would happen to everybody, and they said that the end result for him would be going into the military. So. They would have given you a more realistic thing of some of his dreams not quite working out.
Yeah.
But it's great. It was really good.
Yeah.
So good. I'm trying to think of anything else. I guess that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, personally, I've still been playing Baldur's Gate 3. I've got actually. Let me check my Steam right now. How many hours do I have in BG3? 60 at this point. 60 hours in the game overall. So I'm having a good time. I haven't done much else for media. I want to start watching Ahsoka, though the way people are reacting to this show makes me not want to watch it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either.
There are so many people saying it's better than Andor, which I'm just going to tell you right now. I haven't seen the show. It's not better than Andor. There's just no way.
They've said that? Wow. I haven't seen Andor yet either.
And I beg your pardon?
I'm sorry. I need to catch up on Star Wars because I didn't finish Mandalorian season 2 either.
That's fine. Season 3 is not really worth watching. Book of Boba Fett's not worth watching.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Kenobi's not really worth watching.
I saw Kenobi,
except for maybe the last episode. Okay.
There's enough stuff in Kenobi that make it worth it, but it's just like it's a scene. It's like it's a scene show and not a a season show, if you know what I mean. Like the
Yeah,
highlights
I
are
get what
these
you're
specific scenes that just elevate it, like in terms of worth
Yeah,
being
but
watching,
they
not in
rush their
terms
way
of.
to get there though. Is the problem? Is like they it really feels like they built the show around the scene at the end, and then everything else was an afterthought.
Because it was supposed to be like a movie. I think was the original plan
And it
for
would have been better
Kenobi.
served as one
Yeah,
because
you could
the
tell.
production budget would have been way better,
And
and it wouldn't have looked like shit.
pacing,
Which it
all
did.
of it, you can just tell.
It looked awful. Yeah,
And
but
they
they wanted
probably
to push it out
shouldn't.
because they wanted more money.
And it probably should have just been Vader. They probably didn't need the Inquisitor. I mean, I get that she was cool, but
Well, and
she was
I
cool,
really
but
hate what they're doing with like stabbing people and like, nope, I'm not dead. And like, obviously, the Grand Inquisitor wasn't going to die because he was alive later on. But like, why the fuck are you stabbing him? Why is he even in the show if you're just gonna sideline him? For one thing.
What what Star Wars needs to do, because I just did The Force Unleashed on my channel.
Yeah.
I talk about it. It's a great game.
Yes.
Give us Starkiller in something, please.
Canonize Starkiller again.
Please.
I don't care if you have to completely rewrite his ending, because you would have to, because the original birth of the rebellion was Starkiller. It was his family crest that became the symbol.
Yep.
But is the Merrick family crest. But
yeah.
Obviously, the birth of the rebellion is very different now in the current canon, and that's fine. But if there is a way they could recanonize Starkiller.
They can still redo it, and the Inquisitors also make it kind of interesting because that was like what he was originally.
He could.
But Sam Witwer has like talked about it, like how it would kind of work, but make sure that man's involved as well in the process.
Well, they would have to, because they used his likeness for the character in the game as well. So Sam Witwer looks younger than he is. So
I was literally thinking,
more.
They could just say fuck it and just have him be
Why
Starkiller.
not cast Witwer? He's a phenomenal actor. And he looks like Starkiller. They used his likeness for Starkiller. Just put Witwer back in it.
Yeah.
Whitwer is one of the best things that ever happened to Star Wars, man.
Yeah.
Between Galen Merrick and Darth Maul, I mean, what an incredible guy.
God.
Dude,
him explaining the final Kenobi and Darth Maul fight is just so beautiful to listen to.
Yeah. And he's like a Star Wars guy, you know, like what do you call, on the set for the Clone Wars. There was this scene where Matt Lanter was like talking about, like, or he was reading
meet Shmi.
Yeah,
I've seen
like,
this.
Or
meet my wife. Meet my wife.
You'd really like her, and Sam was like,
they've met.
Padme and Shmi met already.
Yeah, they had dinner together.
You got a room full of Star Wars people, and they all forgot that they were interacting in the first movie.
Yeah.
But that's what Sam Witwer is like. Just a certified.
Him and Filoni just get married.
You lost me.
You don't like Filoni?
I don't dislike Filoni, but Filoni has a history of walking all over other people's work for his vision to become clear, and I don't respect that whatsoever.
I think
there are. The problem with Filoni, he really does not give a shit about other people's contribution. If he feels like he can interject and write a better story, he will just completely erase what somebody else has already done and put his own spin on it.
We stand a boy boss.
No, we do not. Not when Kanan and his master were in like this comic book, and Filoni randomly decided to include them in the first episode of The Bad Batch, and like it was written completely differently. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, no, there is an artist who has already put this on a page. This is canon, and you have just decided to circumvent this. And based on the George Lucas hierarchy, TV shows do take precedence over comic books. So now this artist's work just doesn't fucking matter. It's not canon. Just because Filoni had to have them in his show. Like, you couldn't have done anything else. Nothing else. That's it. You just had to have Caleb and Depa in your first episode for 2 minutes.
Go off, King.
To just shit on somebody else's work. Like, I don't know, man.
It comes out that the comic book artist was like a Nazi.
Now, rookie season Dave Filoni, mind you, and really first few years of his career, that man was cooking, but he is washed.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it.
Nah, we stand a boy boss.
I don't love Dave Filoni. I'm gonna be honest with you. But yeah, Sam Witwer, I'm glad we can agree there at least. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Hopefully, I really hope some way, somehow, they recanonize Starkiller. And obviously,
God,
it has to be completely
he's
different,
so popular. You would think they would.
It would be for a company that loves money as much as they do. They sure do like love ignoring people's suggestions. Now, I'm not saying they should pander because I don't believe like a lot of people felt that way about like the sequels and like had they let the fans write the sequels, those movies would have been fucking awful. But not that they weren't.
I was gonna say they're bad already. At least make us happy about them.
They would have been worse, but yeah, I like if for a company that really cares more about money than anything else, you think they would canonize Starkiller and just call it a day somehow. They'd figure it out.
Yeah.
If they want the money that bad.
I still think it's a matter of time because he is so popular and they care so much about money. I just feel like they have to.
I thought Ahsoka would have been a perfect place to interject him because you would have had two of Anakin's apprentices. And I watched a video from Full Fat Vids. I don't know if you've ever watched any of his video essays. But he had a video on this topic, and he said he actually wrote the script like a year ago, but never ended up finishing it. And then he saw like people were predicting one of these Inquisitors to actually be Starkiller. He's like, well, fuck, now I have to get this video out like in a hurry. And so he did, but he had a really good video about like, what if like Ahsoka met Starkiller, and I don't want to like go into too much detail because it's his video and I don't really remember what all he said, but the way he put it, it was like really cool. And I'll send you the link later.
What's the is she like Coda for this new Starkiller?
No, I think what happens is like I think Starkiller was like cryo frozen at some point because you remember of course like right after the mission where you go to kill Shakti, Palpatine's like, yeah, get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
This version of the story would have had Vader like still to some degree hold some kind of love for Starkiller because he's almost like the son that he was never able to, that he didn't know he did have in Luke.
Mm-hmm.
So because in a way Vader did raise him just in a really ass backwards and evil kind of way, but
right.
So because he loved him, he would freeze him instead of kill him, and Ahsoka would like thaw him out, and at some point Starkiller would die and Anakin would give up like his like life force as a force ghost to like save him or something. It was like, I don't know, it was like the synopsis of it basically, but I thought it was pretty cool. I can send you the link later.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just check it out later. But yeah, so Starkiller needs to come back. I don't. Does he have to be an Inquisitor?
No,
because he's hidden away from the Emperor already. I think you could just keep that.
There's something they could. I'll let the experts handle this.
I think you could just make Vader not. I mean, how does Vader feel about the Inquisitors right now? I know he
Vader
works with them.
Necessarily like he chopped off a limb of every single one of them except the Grand Inquisitor just to teach them a lesson about pain. Like I don't think.
I think you could just play up Vader not particularly liking them and just having his own side piece.
His own little dude, side piece.
Yeah,
his weekend thing.
Yeah, his little. I say during the game because I have like Starkiller wearing this more revealing like training suit when he meets up with Vader.
One he wears in episode or in the third mission against Shakti.
Yeah, and he walks up to Vader wearing that, and I'm just like Vader and his little twink. so a little side piece might be a little accurate.
Vader loves femboy pussy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Can we make that canon? Actually, if that's how they need to bring Starkiller back, we need like a gay sex scene.
God, could you imagine the absolute fire? Like that would just. Oh my God, the internet would go crazy.
God, I'd watch it.
Oh, I downloaded the wrong Star Wars. Wait, no, this is the right Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Is it robot? With Vader's.
What's up?
Is
yeah, he's definitely got that thing custom built. You know what I mean? Like he's got cybernetically enhanced. It's got vibrations on it. It's jackhammer setting. Adjustable length and girth for sure.
Nothing will
self-lubricating.
Nothing will fill you up perfectly like a Vader penis.
Yeah, but well, on that note,
yeah. Let's think. Am I watching anything? Am I doing anything else? I will just say tomorrow I'm going out to Kelly Fields to record for that Oscar video because that's where the first ever Best Picture winner was recorded or filmed, I guess I should say. So I'll be on the site talking about it.
Splendid.
So. Look forward to that.
Really
hopefully that's coming out this Saturday, but we'll see if I can get it out in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got nothing else to add.
I think I'm good here too. I think. Excuse me.
All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. The next video, or I guess to say the next part in this podcast, will be up on Avillion Talks. So check that out on YouTube. We're going to see about getting this out on different platforms, anywhere you can watch a podcast. We'll try to get them out there, or at least we'll look into it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to me. Subscribe to Avillion Talks. Like the podcast. Come back for more. Thank you.